Chapter 447. The illusory and killing arrays had been destroyed, but the trapping array remained. The Fire Cloud sect leader had deliberately not cracked the trapping array. As such, the mountain valley had become a land of death. Yi Xing had a supreme-grade air transportation spirit artifact on him. His speed was in no way inferior to the Fire Cloud sect leader. As a safety precaution, the Fire Cloud sect leader naturally left the trapping array intact. It made it impossible for Yi Xing to escape. As such, even if Yi Xing had means to dodge a sure-kill strike, there was nowhere for him to escape. Only death awaited him. However, the Fire Cloud sect leader did not consider that by cutting off Yi Xing's path of retreat, he was also cutting off his own path of retreat. The Fire Cloud sect leader was stronger than Yi Xing, so Yi Xing naturally had nowhere to run. What if Yi Xing was stronger than the Fire Cloud sect leader? It would become the Fire Cloud sect leader having nowhere to run. Of course, the Fire Cloud sect leader absolutely did not believe that Yi Xing could threaten him. If Yi Xing really had such ability, why would he need to flee from the beginning? The Fire Cloud sect leader did a simple recuperation outside the stone hut. Before he recovered to his peak state, he confidently entered the stone hut. Inside, Yi Xing stopped his meditation and stood up the moment the Fire Cloud sect leader entered the stone hut. The moment the Fire Cloud sect leader entered the stone hut, he was alarmed by the extremely cold and rich aura in the room. The array formation outside the mountain valley had a scorching aura, while the aura inside the stone hut was extremely cold. The contrast between the two was like ice and fire. At that moment, it was the best opportunity for Yi Xing to sneak up on the Fire Cloud sect leader. If Yi Xing had not obtained the opportunity in the stone hut, he would definitely have sneaked up on the Fire Cloud sect leader. However, the present Yi Xing was confident in his victory. He did not think it was beneath him to sneak up on the Fire Cloud sect leader. Instead, he said nonchalantly, "Fire Cloud sect leader, I've been waiting a long time for you." As a superior, the Fire Cloud sect master was surprised by the rich aura in the room, but it was not enough to make him panic. Immediately, he circulated his astral powers, forming a barrier that isolated the aura. At the same time, two array flags appeared beside Fire Cloud sect master, one on the left and one on the right. They dispersed the surrounding aura as they shot their gazes at Yi Xing. The room was dark, but it did not cover a large area. Although Fire Cloud sect master could see things vaguely, he could still see the entire stone chamber. Fire Cloud sect master's gaze was locked onto Yi Xing, but he was sizing up the other figures in the room with his peripheral vision. He was also surprised by the coffin in the room. So this is a burial ground. Someone wanted to become a corpse Dao martial artist after death. No wonder there was an illusion formation outside to prevent others from discovering it. Fire Cloud sect leader thought to himself. Normal martial artists would recultivate their inner energy, while corpse Dao martial artists would recultivate their physical bodies. No matter how high one's cultivation was, or how profound one's astral energy was, after becoming a corpse path martial artist, they would have to start all over again. Therefore, although Fire Cloud sect leader was astonished, he thought nothing of the dead person in the coffin. Fire Cloud sect leader looked coldly at Yi Xing and said coldly, "Have you been waiting for me for a long time? Are you in a hurry to die?" Yi Xing shook his head and said, "No. I'm waiting for you to send yourself to your death. This is an excellent land with excellent feng shui. If you die here, you might be able to continue living as a corpse path martial artist in the future." Ha ha ha. Fire Cloud sect leader roared with laughter. Although he had a look of contempt, his eyes were sharp. He carefully sized up Yi Xing, hoping to figure out Yi Xing's background. He said, "A mere 2-star perfected one dares to show off in front of me, Fire Cloud sect leader." Before Fire Cloud sect leader could finish his sentence, his voice came to a halt as he revealed a look of surprise. At that moment, Yi Xing's cultivation level had exploded as his aura leaked out. He was clearly not a 2-star perfected one, but a 3-star perfected one. Fire Cloud sect leader wore a look of surprise as his tone changed. "In such a short period of time, your cultivation level has broken through a realm. You obtained corpse jade here?" Some warriors who wanted to become corpse path martial artists would collect corpse jade while they were alive in order to quickly raise their cultivation level after becoming a corpse path martial artist. They would then place it in burial grounds and absorb it after becoming a corpse path martial artist. This was very common. Fire Cloud sect leader immediately guessed that Yi Xing had broken through in such a short period of time. Yi Xing must have obtained high-quality corpse jade here. With the help of the corpse jade, he had broken through a realm in a short period of time. Yi Xing nodded and said, "That's right. There is indeed quite a number of corpse jade here. Furthermore, there are even better treasures. They can be considered priceless treasures. I have to thank you. If not for you pursuing me, I would not have come here. I would not have obtained such a great opportunity. Priceless treasures. Great opportunity, great opportunity." When Fire Cloud sect leader heard these words, his eyes immediately turned red. He felt extremely depressed. Fire Cloud sect leader was at the 7-star Yellow Life realm, but all his achievements were at the limits of the Heavenly Fate realm. Many people at the same realm as him were at the 6-star Yellow Life realm. Many warriors at the same Heavenly Fate realm as him had become 8-star perfected ones, or even 9-star perfected ones. The reason why Fire Cloud sect leader did not break through the limits of the Heavenly Fate realm was that he did not have any good opportunities in his life. Although he often went to perilous lands for training and experienced many dangers, any great opportunities seemed to have nothing to do with him. Now, after pursuing Yi Xing all this while, it was Yi Xing who had obtained a great opportunity. How could Fire Cloud sect leader not be envious? It was a heavy blow to him. He felt as though he had been abandoned by the heavens. Luck had never been on his side. That's not right. Fire Cloud sect leader suddenly had a thought as a new idea appeared in his mind. This punk is already doomed. If I were to kill him, wouldn't the great opportunity he obtained become mine? From the looks of it, the light from Providence shone on me late. I'm considered a late bloomer. Only when I'm nearly 100 years old did I receive the first great opportunity of my life. However, all late bloomers are able to transcend the limitations of the golden cultivation period. In their later years, they can open up another golden cultivation period, allowing their cultivation level to increase by leaps and bounds. If that's the case, I still have a high chance of obtaining this great opportunity in the future. In the future, I might become an 8-star or 9-star perfected one. I might even become a half-step supremacy, and lead the Fire Cloud sect to become the strongest faction in the true mystic region. When Fire Cloud sect leader thought of the great opportunity, he could not help but fantasize about the future. His mood immediately changed and he was overjoyed. Fire Cloud sect leader let out a cold laugh and said, "So what if you obtain the opportunity? Once you die, it will still be mine." With a burst of laughter, killing intent erupted. Fire Cloud sect leader released a terrifying might that pressed down on Yi Xing. Is that so? Yi Xing's expression remained unchanged. He thought nothing of Fire Cloud sect leader's terrifying might. Immediately, the crimson flame suit appeared and enveloped him tightly. Black skeleton helmet, black skeleton gloves, black skeleton battle armor and black skeleton battle boots. In this dim stone room, it looked like a ferocious demon with sharp teeth. Even though Fire Cloud sect leader was a 7-star perfected being, he could not help but be alarmed. Following that, his eyes lit up as he bellowed, "Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set?" Supreme Grade Spirit Artifacts were extremely precious. Even as a perfected being, Fire Cloud sect leader only possessed one Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact. Among spirit artifacts were the most common. There were very few other spirit artifacts. It was extremely difficult to form a set, especially a Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set. There were far fewer of them than mystic armaments. A Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set was worth more than an inferior grade mystic armament. And inferior grade mystic armaments were probably only owned by supremacies. To a perfected being at the astral stellar realm, they were priceless treasures that could only be chanced upon by luck. The priceless treasure Yi Xing mentioned was clearly the Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set. Fire Cloud sect leader exclaimed in admiration. Not bad at all. A Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set is rare in the world. It's indeed a priceless treasure. If I had such a set, I would be able to match a 9-star perfected being even without the use of array formations. If I had such a set, my defense would be invincible. Together with a third-grade array formation at the phenomenal success stage, I would be able to wipe out a 9-star perfected being. From Fire Cloud sect leader's point of view, the Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set was already an item that belonged to him. Although the Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set was powerful, Yixing was only a 3-star perfected being. From Fire Cloud sect leader's point of view, Yixing was unable to produce the full might of the Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set. As for him, he was not only a 7-star perfected being, he was also a 3rd-grade array formation grandmaster. In a head-on battle, he could even kill an 8-star perfected being with his array formations. He could even match a 9-star perfected being. On the True Mystic Region's Heavenly Mystic roll, Fire Cloud sect leader was ranked 5th. He was ranked even higher than Wu Yu, who was at the 8th stage of the Astral Stellar Realm. This was because he was a 3rd-grade array formation grandmaster. As Fire Cloud sect leader spoke, he stretched out his palm. Astral stars condensed into a flaming hand that grabbed at Yixing. Yixing had already placed 108 middle-grade astral crystals in his Crimson Flame set. His strength was comparable to that of a 9-star perfected being, so he gently flicked his hand at Fire Cloud sect leader's strike. Bang! Like swatting a mosquito to death, Yixing's palm shattered the flaming hand with a single stroke. Under the skull helmet, Yixing's voice sounded. Is this perfected being 7 stars attack? It can't even withstand a single blow. Fire Cloud sect leader revealed a look of shock as he exclaimed. You are only a 3-star perfected being. How can you produce the full might of a Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set? That's impossible. Fire Cloud sect leader was knowledgeable, so he naturally knew that be it a Superior Grade Spirit Artifact set or a Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set, they were no different from a single Spirit Artifact. The only difference was that a Spirit Artifact set's defense was astounding. Furthermore, it increased one's combat strength. With a Spirit Artifact set, it was easy for one to wipe out those of the same level and challenge those of a higher level. However, no matter how much one challenged those of a higher level, there was a limit. The might of a Supreme Grade Spirit Artifact set was terrifying, but only a high-level Astral Stellar Realm cultivator could fully produce its full might. Are you very surprised? Yixing said coldly as he punched out at Fire Cloud sect leader. This punch's might shook the heavens. The stone chamber wasn't large to begin with, so the air was compressed by the fist's force, producing an explosive sound. It was a horrifying sight. Fire Cloud sect leader immediately activated 2 array flags, transforming them into a flaming shield that blocked in front of him. Yixing's fist struck the flaming shield, producing another explosive sound. Immediately, several cracks appeared on the flaming shield. Fire Cloud sect leader was appalled as he suddenly recalled something. He bellowed, "This is the Crimson Flame set." Chapter 448. Fire Cloud sect leader recalled an expert who dominated dozens of domains 100 years ago. Supremacy Crimson Flame. Supremacy Crimson Flame was not an astral-reaching realm supremacy. He was only a half-step supremacy, but his fame was even greater than some 1-star supremacies. Supremacy Crimson Flame had a supreme-grade spiritual artifact set named Crimson Flame Set. The Crimson Flame Set was different from the rest. It did not depend on the user's cultivation level. Instead, it was powered by mid-grade astral energy. As long as there was enough mid-grade astral energy, the Crimson Flame Set could erupt with the strength of an exalted. At most, it could wipe out exalted 9 stars. It had an absolute defense that even exalted 9 stars could not break through. In addition to exalted 9 stars' offensive power, few people of the same level could withstand it. Of course, it could wipe out exalted 9 stars. More than 100 years ago, the Scarlet Flame Reverend's fame had been at its peak, and all the major forces in the surrounding 10 or so regions knew of his existence. Even a 2-star empire had to treat the Scarlet Flame Reverend with respect, not daring to underestimate him. However, more than 100 years ago, Supremacy Crimson Flame had a blood feud with the Azure Dragon Empire's Dragon Royal family. He killed 2 of their supremacies and was later heavily injured by the Azure Dragon Empire's emperor, Supremacy Xingyu. His whereabouts were unknown ever since. Along with Supremacy Crimson Flame's disappearance was his Crimson Flame set. Time flew and more than 100 years had passed. To this day and age, apart from a few old antiques, very few warriors knew of Supremacy Crimson Flame and his Crimson Flame set. Fire Cloud sect leader was not even 100 years old. When Supremacy Crimson Flame disappeared, he was not even born yet. However, his status was special. He was the sect leader of a sect, so he was naturally knowledgeable. As a sect leader, he was familiar with the powerful factions in the vicinity of the true mystic region. Fire Cloud sect leader naturally knew of Supremacy Crimson Flame. He also knew that Supremacy Crimson Flame had a supreme grade spiritual artifact, the Crimson Flame set. The supreme grade spiritual artifact that Yi Xing had obtained was actually the Crimson Flame set used by Supremacy Crimson Flame. This left Fire Cloud sect leader astounded. Fire Cloud sect leader's expression turned grim. He no longer dared to underestimate Yi Xing. The Crimson Flame set's might could be unleashed. It was even more terrifying than him using array flags. Huh. That's right, this is the Scarlet Flame Venerable's Scarlet Flame set. It was placed on the table at the end of the stone room. Unfortunately, I came in a step before you and obtained it. Yi Xing's cheerful laughter came from the flame set. As he spoke, his attacks did not stop. Yi Xing used Flaming Astral Fist as his fists rained down on the Fire Cloud sect leader. Although the Flaming Aura Fist was only an upper-tier spiritual martial art, and Yi Xing had only trained it to the Great Success stage. Compared to the Exalted Person, regardless of the level of his martial arts or his martial arts attainment, they were all inferior. However, the power contained within the Crimson Flame set was too terrifying. The power of Yi Xing's punches did not lie in the precision of the moves, but in the fact that each and every one of them contained a world-shaking attack. Bang 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 bang. The defensive power of the flame shield was extremely strong, but under Yi Xing's relentless punches, cracks began to appear on its surface. The Fire Cloud sect master had used array flags to set up a third-level phenomenal success defensive array formation, but it was unable to withstand Yi Xing's attack. Kill. If he continued defending, Yi Xing would only need a few punches to completely shatter the flame shield. The Fire Cloud sect leader bellowed as he threw out a few array flags once again. Another third-level phenomenal success array formation was formed. This time, it was a killing array, Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array. Boom. Boom. Two gigantic fire serpents rushed out in an instant. The scales on these two fire serpents were vivid and lifelike. They looked extremely real. And the more realistic an attack was, the more terrifying it was. The two fire snakes were extremely powerful compared to the Exalted Person. Even an 8-star Exalted Person would have to retreat in front of them. Even a 9-star Exalted Person might not be able to withstand them. The moment the offensive array formation appeared, the situation immediately changed. The two fire snakes suddenly charged out, catching Yi Xing by surprise. Although the Crimson Flame set was powerful, Yi Xing was only a perfected 3-star. His combat awareness and martial arts attainment were still inferior to the Exalted Person's. Yi Xing blocked the attack of one fire snake, but the other fire snake's head slammed into his chest. Immediately, his body was sent flying backwards. Bang! The coffin in the middle of the stone chamber was sent flying by the impact. The force of the collision was terrifying. The coffin shattered as the corpses inside rolled out. At that moment, Yi Xing couldn't care less. Just as he steadied himself, the two fire snakes charged at him from both sides. Yi Xing activated his super brain to scan the area. The two fire snakes' attack trajectories were captured by Yi Xing and understood. Using the Flaming Astral Fist's basic fist stance, Yi Xing punched out twice, hitting the two fire snakes in the head. The two fire snakes immediately came to a halt. Two shockwaves that could be seen with the naked eye followed the two fire snakes' bodies from front to back. When the shockwaves from the fire snakes reached the array flags, the Fire Cloud sect patriarch's body trembled as he immediately took a step back. His eyes revealed a look of horror. At that moment, Yi Xing's strength was unbelievably powerful. Kill! Kill! Yi Xing and the Fire Cloud sect patriarch shouted at the same time. The stone chamber was cramped, so it was like they were facing each other on a narrow path. It was a battle of courage. Both of them had an indomitable spirit as they unleashed their strength to their limits. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch circulated his astral stellar energy at full force as he powered the array flags. It caused the two fire snakes' auras to become stronger and more violent as they attacked Yixing ferociously. Yixing was dressed in his crimson flame suit. His body was like a metal tower, immovable like a mountain. He waved his iron fists, and regardless of how fast the two fire snakes attacked or how tricky their angles were, Yixing knew their attack trajectories very well. He easily struck the two fire snakes in the head, sending them flying back. Phew! A beam of starlight shot up into the sky, forming a gigantic flaming star. Yixing had used his astrology, causing the surging fiery stellar forces to descend and fuse with his crimson flame suit, making his attacks even more powerful. Finally, Yixing came out on top. He sent the two fire snakes retreating as they flew left and right. Boom! When the battle between Yixing and the two fire snakes reached its climax, the entire stone hut was blasted apart, leaving the ground in a mess. The stone hut was reinforced by an array formation, so the duo's attacks did not destroy it in the beginning. However, it was unable to withstand the continuous and terrifying collisions. Yixing took a large stride forward as he punched out. Every punch had the might to shatter mountains. The two fire snakes splattered fire scales under his punches as their auras turned sluggish. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch was horrified. His expression was one of shock and horror. Clearly, he never expected such an outcome. He had pursued Qingyun all the way here, but he had allowed Qingyun to obtain a huge opportunity. Qingyun's strength had reached a level that was even more terrifying than his. Begone! Yixing roared as he punched out again. This punch contained the most potent fiery stellar forces. The three worldly forces that had gone far beyond the realm of minute subtlety were fused into the punch. It was astounding in might. Boom! Finally, one of the fire snakes was blasted apart by Yixing's punch as flames shot out in every direction. The array flags cracked as the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. He retreated several steps back. The array formation had been blasted apart, causing the other fire snake to dissipate. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch suffered an immense recoil, and was already injured. A pair of flaming wings appeared on the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch's body. Yixing had the crimson flame set, so he was no match for him. All he could do was dodge and flee. However, when the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch flew up tens of meters into the sky, he was affected by the trapping array. A translucent barrier of light suddenly appeared and blocked him. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch slammed into the translucent barrier of light, and was sent flying back. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch had deliberately left behind the trapping array to prevent Yixing from escaping. He wanted to make it impossible for Yixing to escape. But now, the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch was unable to escape. The illusory and killing arrays have been destroyed, but the trapping array remains. Ha! Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch, you were planning on trapping me with the trapping array so that you could catch a turtle in a jar. Unfortunately, you are the turtle in the jar. You have dug your own grave. Yixing roared with laughter. Seeing that the illusory and killing arrays were gone, leaving only the trapping array. How could Yixing not know what the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch was thinking? The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch's eyes revealed a look of despair. He never expected that his pursuit of a two-star perfected one for a few days would result in such a situation. Ultimately, he was the one facing death. How could the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch accept this? He was the sect master of a sect, Venerable 7-star, and a third-level array grandmaster. Any one of these titles was a resounding existence in the true mystic region. Especially on the true mystic region's heavenly mystic roll, the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch was ranked 5th. Countless warriors in the true mystic region looked up to him. However, today he was in a particular spot in the Skycorp's mountain range, a place unknown to the other warriors or places they had never been to. He was facing death. If he were to perish here, who would know who had killed him? Who would know that he, Yin Void Flame, had died here? Up to this point, the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch did not even know Yixing's name. Die. Yixing's cold voice sounded from beneath the black skull helmet. Yixing took a step forward and clenched his scarlet flame glove into a fist. He blasted out a terrifying flaming fist beam that headed straight for the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch activated his defensive array once again. The damaged flaming shield stood in front of Yixing. Boom. The flaming shield was completely blasted apart as Yixing leaped up and punched down at the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch had a look of despair as his body burned with flames. He directly ignited his astral stars to withstand Yixing's punch. However, without the array formation's powers, the Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch's strength was only at the pinnacle among venerable 7 stars. He was incomparable to an venerable 8-star, much less Yixing's Scarlet Flame set that produced the combat strength of a venerable 9-star. Bang! The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch's arm exploded. Before his astral stars could fully ignite, Yixing's fist had already struck his head, causing it to explode. The Fire Cloud Sect Patriarch was dead. Chapter 449, that with the crimson flame set hidden in his body, Yixing's breathing quickened. Although the crimson flame set was powered by mid-grade astral crystals, and had strength equivalent to exalted 9 stars, using this strength in battle still required Yixing's strength. This was akin to an ordinary person obtaining an extremely powerful weapon. With this weapon he could kill someone much stronger than him. However, this did not mean that he did not need to expend his strength. At the very least, using this weapon to attack others would expend his strength. If the weapon was very heavy, he would also feel exhausted after killing his opponent. The Crimson Flame set was like a heavy and powerful weapon. Yixing could even kill exalted 9 stars when using it in battle, but he would also expend a great deal of his strength in a battle. As Yixing hurriedly took a deep breath, he used his black hole astrological form to devour Fire Cloud Sect Master's Fire of Destiny. Fire Cloud Sect Master had a 7-star yellow fate. It was 1 star higher than his son, Yin Tianhao. The higher the heavenly fate, the smoother one's cultivation would be. It would be easier to break through the barriers of one's cultivation realm. Yixing naturally did not mind having a higher heavenly fate. After a while, the Fire of Destiny in Fire Cloud Sect Master's mind dissipated. As for Yixing's mind, the Fire of Destiny went from 6 to 7. Yixing's heavenly fate had reached a 7-star yellow fate. A 7-star yellow fate meant that one was destined to cultivate to the 7th level of the astral constellation realm. Such a heavenly fate was very rare in the entire true mystic region. Among warriors of the same generation, there were typically only 1 or 2 of them. Yixing took off Fire Cloud Sect Master's storage ring and produced a blob of astral fire. He burned Fire Cloud Sect Master's corpse and quickly reduced it to ashes. Yixing observed his surroundings. The valley was in a mess. The stone house had been reduced to ruins, and the coffin had been reduced to fragments. Tianfun's corpse had been buried by the collapsed rubble. There were several cracks on the ground, all caused by the collision between Yixing and the 2 fire snakes. One of the large cracks divided the ruins of the stone house into 2 halves. Yixing could clearly sense that the yin qi here had dissipated and returned to normal. It seemed that the battle just now had destroyed the mouth of the spring here. From now on, this place would no longer be a good place for the dead. Who knew how long Tianfun, who was buried under the rubble, would have to wait before he could become a corpse Dao cultivator? Yixing only thought about it casually and ignored it. Yixing sat down on a rock and studied Fire Cloud Sect Master's storage ring. Superior grade storage rings were typically only owned by supremacies. As the sect master of a superior 1-star sect, the Fire Cloud Sect Master still used a medial grade storage ring. However, when Yixing wiped away the Fire Cloud Sect Master's astral mark and probed the interior of the ring, he was alarmed. He saw that there were more than 10 medial grade storage rings in the medial grade storage ring, as well as a large number of inferior grade storage rings. With so many medial grade storage rings, it's unlikely that they were given to him by others. They were probably obtained after he killed others. Yixing thought to himself. For example, he had obtained Fire Cloud Sect Master's storage ring after killing him. Yixing took out all the storage rings and checked them one by one. He discovered that Fire Cloud Sect Master's wealth was in no way inferior to his. In terms of astral crystals, Yixing naturally had more. Yixing only found more than 100,000 medial-grade astral crystals, and more than 1,000,000 inferior-grade astral crystals in the storage ring. However, there were many other treasures in Fire Cloud Sect Master's storage ring. There were large numbers of pills, various ores and array formation materials. They were all piled up in a large space. Most importantly, there were a few martial arts manuals that were superior-grade spirit martial arts. Superior-grade spirit martial arts were extremely valuable. They were not of much use to Yixing, but the Meteor Sect's future discoveries could not be lacking in martial arts. The items in the storage ring were most useful to Yixing. They were all array formation materials. Yixing's array formation skills had improved very quickly, but he was lacking in array formation materials. Oh, there's also a mask. Yixing found a human-skinned mask in an inferior-grade storage ring. The mask that exalted Wu Yu gave me can no longer be used because I offended Long Xiao. However, this can be used. If I were to show my true face to others, I would only dare use my trump card when I encounter danger. If I wear the mask, no one will know who I am. I can then use the Crimson Flame set at any time. I can even use the Black Hole Astrology or Sagittarius Constellation Astrology. Yixing put the human-skinned mask on himself. After leaving this place, he would wear this mask and continue to search for corpse jades in the Sky Corpse Mountain range. Wearing the Crimson Flame set to search for corpse jades, he could even kill high-level Astral Realm corpse martial artists. In the area where superior-grade spirit jade was produced, there were no corpse venerables. Yixing was basically invincible. As long as he found a spirit jade, he could snatch it from the corpse martial artists. Yixing sorted out the items in the storage ring, and put all the storage rings into his middle-grade storage ring. Then, Yixing continued to comprehend the array formation knowledge in his mind. A trap formation was not something that one could walk out of just by seeing the formation. Only by becoming a level 3 array grandmaster could one leave a level 3 trap formation. Yixing had enough formation materials on him. While he was comprehending the formation, he was also using the formation materials to set up a small formation and conduct experiments. Practice and theory verified each other. This allowed Yixing to comprehend the array formation much faster. Day by day, time passed. Yixing did not know that the Yin Gathering Twin Springs was a very balanced feng shui treasure land. When his lower Yin Spring was destroyed, the upper Yin Spring where the Scarlet Flame Venerable was buried was also destroyed. The Scarlet Flame Venerable had used the powerful Yin Qi in the Yin Gathering Twin Springs to set up the array formation. Now that the upper Yin Spring was destroyed, the array formation outside the Scarlet Flame Venerable's burial ground naturally had some flaws. At least, the illusion array that enveloped the burial ground no longer looked real. Even a level 3 array grandmaster could see the problem at a glance. Although the Scarlet Flame Venerable's burial ground was 100,000 miles away from the lower Yin Spring, it still belonged to the periphery of the Sky Corpse Mountain range. Martial artists who entered the Sky Corpse Mountain range all hurried to the depths of the mountain range. No one would search for corpse jades in the periphery. Therefore, only some martial artists who happened to pass by the Scarlet Flame Venerable's burial ground would pass by. This probability was very low. Even if there was a problem with the array formation, no one would know since no martial artist saw it. Nearly a month later, a group of martial artists happened to pass by this place. Just like Skyblaze's burial ground, the illusion array outside the Scarlet Flame Venerable's burial ground also manifested a flaming mountain peak. In the past, this flaming mountain peak was very real. However, it now looked somewhat illusory and indistinct. The group of martial artists who passed by immediately discovered the problem. There were a total of 3 people in this group. One was a 5-star venerable, and the other 2 were 3-star venerable. One of the 3-star venerable was the first to discover the problem, and pointed out that the flaming mountain peak was not real. The 3 of them arrived outside the flaming mountain peak. The 5-star venerable observed for a while and said, "This flaming mountain peak is fake. This is an illusion array. The illusory flaming mountain peak is blocking everything inside." One of the 3-star venerable said, "An illusion array? Who would set up an illusion array in the Sky Corpse Mountain range?" The other 3-star venerable said, "Usually there is only one possibility. A martial artist who wants to become a Corpse Dao martial artist would bury himself in the Sky Corpse mountain range and set up an illusion array outside the burial ground when he was alive, so that other martial artists would not be able to discover it. The 3-star venerable was surprised and said, "Are you saying that this illusion array is a martial artist's burial ground?" The 3-star venerable nodded and said, "That's right." In order to quickly increase their cultivation after becoming a Corpse Dao martial artists would usually collect corpse jades when they were alive and place them in the burial ground. After becoming a Corpse Dao martial artist, they could directly absorb the corpse jades to cultivate. It seems like there should be corpse jades in this burial ground. The 5-star venerable at the front laughed and said, "We entered the Sky Corpse mountain range for ordinary corpse jades. If there are corpse jades here, why bother going elsewhere? I wonder if the martial artists in the burial ground collected a lot of corpse jades when they were alive. I will go take a look." After saying that, the 5-star venerable rushed toward the flaming mountain peak ahead. It was just an illusion array, so he did not pay much attention to it. The 5-star venerable directly passed through the flaming mountain peak. This flaming mountain peak was indeed illusory. However, after a few breaths, a mournful scream was heard from inside. Then there was no more movement. The expressions of the 2 3-star venerables outside changed drastically. The scream had been made by the 5-star venerable who had just entered. Judging by the miserable sound, it was obvious that he had met with a mishap. A 5-star venerable had died in an instant. Was this merely an illusion array? The 2 3-star venerables retreated continuously. They were looking at the flaming mountain peak with reverence. "Senior Brother D. Senior Brother D." The 2 3-star venerables shouted loudly toward the illusion array, but no sound came out. The two of them looked at each other and sensed the fear in each other's eyes. They did not stay and quickly left this place to return to Wu City. Soon a piece of news spread. In the periphery of the Sky Corpse mountain range, less than 2 days' journey from Wu City, a martial artist's burial ground had appeared. It was enveloped by an extremely high-level illusion array. It was common knowledge that martial artists would collect corpse jades when they were alive and place them in the burial ground. They would be absorbed when they became a Corpse Dao martial artist. Therefore, a martial artist's burial ground would most likely have corpse jades, and there would be a lot of them. Furthermore, martial artists could also place their lifetime's harvest in the burial ground and bury it with them. An expert's burial ground could be considered a treasure trove. Therefore, a large number of martial artists headed toward the location of the burial ground according to the news. One after another, people died in the array formation. It was not until a level 3 array grandmaster heard the news and rushed over that he saw some clues from the broken array formation. There were not only illusion arrays in the burial ground, but also killing arrays and trapping arrays. Moreover, they were all level 3 array grandmasters. A martial artist who could set up a level 3 array grandmaster to protect his burial ground must have been a level 3 array grandmaster when he was alive. He must have been an expert with a rich collection. The martial artists guessed that there must be a large number of treasures in the burial ground. When the news spread, even the experts of the Blue Dragon Empire and the Green Feather Empire were attracted and headed to the burial ground, begging for one monthly vote. Chapter 450. A large number of experts had gathered outside the Red Flame Venerable's burial ground. More than half of them were Astral Realm Masters, and most of them were from the Blue Dragon Empire and the Green Feather Empire. Since the two empires had intervened, the burial ground naturally belonged to the other martial artists. However, there were still some martial artists gathered here, hoping that they could get some soup after the experts from the two empires broke the formation and entered the burial ground. Both the Blue Dragon Empire and the Green Feather Empire had sent third-level array grandmasters, but the array that the Red Flame Venerable had set up in his own burial ground was much more than the array that he had set up in his son's burial ground. Layer after layer of third-level large success array grandmasters were endless. Even if they were third-level array grandmasters, they would still find it troublesome. The Red Flame Venerable's burial ground's formation was stronger than any of the top 1-star sects. It was harder to enter his burial ground than to fight a top 1-star sect. The array formation was so powerful, Anyone could guess that the person buried inside must be an incredible powerhouse. However, it was not a level 4 formation, so the expert inside was unlikely to be a venerable. At most, it should be a half-step venerable or a 9-star venerable. Venerables and level 4 array grandmasters were extremely rare in the two empires. They were not interested in a burial ground protected by a level 3 greater completion formation. Therefore, the experts from the two empires were all venerables and level 3 array grandmasters. There were about 20 experts from each empire. Half of them were venerables, and the other half were mid-level perfected persons. Moreover, each side had 2 level 3 array grandmasters and several level 3 array grandmasters. Both sides worked together, but the progress in breaking the formation of the Red Flame burial ground was very slow. Therefore, after a discussion, the experts from the two empires invited other array grandmasters to help. They promised that they would be rewarded according to their contributions after breaking the formation. Among the martial artists gathered here, there were a few array grandmasters. One of them was a level 3 array grandmaster from the Tiangang sect of the True Xian domain. He was Master Yanggu, who was ranked first on the Heavenly Xian list of the True Xian domain. Master Yanggu was a level 9 astral realm master, and the Grand Elder of the Tiangang sect. He was the sect master of the Tiangang sect when he was young. The Heavenly Dipper sect was located in the northern part of the True Xian domain, and was relatively close to the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. They were the first to know about this place. As a level 3 array grandmaster, Master Yanggu naturally came to investigate. But unexpectedly, once the Blue Dragon Empire and the Green Feather Empire interfered, even if he was the number 1 on the True Xian region's Heavenly Profound list, he had to step aside in front of these two great empires. This time, the two great empires recruited other array masters to break the array. Master Yanggu was the only third great array grandmaster present, other than the two great empires' cultivators, so he was naturally valued. With the addition of 3 array grandmasters and a few level 3 array masters, the situation had changed. However, there were too many array formations in the burial ground. Moreover, there were many layers of killing arrays that were extremely difficult to break. It would take a lot of time to break through all of them. Yi Xing had stayed at the Yin Spring for nearly 2 months. He had already completely comprehended the array formation knowledge that Venerable Qingyan had left in his mind, and had become a grade 3 array grandmaster. Furthermore, Venerable Qingyan's array formation skills were excellent, and Yi Xing had received all of his teachings. Even among the grade 3 array grandmasters, he was at the top. After becoming a grade 3 array grandmaster, Yi Xing was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he refined an array formation to repair the Fire Cloud sect leader's 2 flaming array flags. These 2 flaming array flags contain the large success stage of a grade 3 defensive array formation, Flaming Shield Array. As for the Yin Yang Fire Serpent Array's array flags, half of them had been destroyed by Yi Xing. Although the Fire Cloud sect leader's storage ring had a lot of array formation materials, the number of high grade 3 array formation materials was the least. This was because too many array flags had been destroyed, and there was not enough material to repair them. After that, Yi Xing cultivated for a period of time. He cultivated the spiritual level supreme grade meteor fall art to the 4th stage, causing his astral energy to become denser. This way, he could use the Crimson Flame set more easily. After doing all of this, nearly 2 months had passed. Yi Xing broke through the lower Yin Spring's trapping array, and headed for the upper Yin Spring 50,000 kilometers away. Yi Xing wore a human skin mask, and looked like a youth with a sallow complexion. Now that he was not in his original appearance and had many powerful means, he was not even afraid of high-level astral stellar realm cultivators. He boldly used his supreme-grade air transportation spirit artifact, the Azure Cloud Wings. In about half a day, he arrived in the vicinity of the upper Yin Spring. Yi Xing looked into the distance, and saw a large number of warriors gathered outside Supremacy Crimson Flame's burial ground. Furthermore, there were more than 10 array masters who were working hard to crack the array. Yi Xing kept the Azure Cloud Wings and switched them for the Black Feather Wings. Although he was not afraid of being coveted by others, there was no need for him to flaunt the Azure Cloud Wings in the crowd and deliberately attract people to snatch it. Other than the experts from the two empires, the warriors gathered here were mostly mid-stage perfected persons. Yi Xing was only a 3-star perfected, so he appeared ordinary and did not attract the attention of others. It's Long Xiao. Yi Xing looked at the experts of the Azure Dragon Empire, and saw the 9th prince of the Azure Dragon Empire, Long Xiao. The Black Widow was still beside Long Xiao, and the two 6-stars perfected persons who followed Long Xiao were also there. Furthermore, there were many experts beside Long Xiao, exuding a terrifying aura. Yi Xing used the super brain to scan their cultivation, and was surprised. 1 9-star perfected person, 4 8-star perfected person, and 7 7-star perfected person. Are these all the experts of the Azure Dragon Empire? There are actually 12 perfected persons gathered here. Glancing at the array masters who were cracking the array, Yi Xing thought. 5 level 3 array masters, all of whom are high-level astral stellar realm cultivators. There are also 2 level 3 array masters. Among the 7 perfected persons, there should be people from the Azure Dragon Empire. It seems that they attach great importance to Supremacy Crimson Flame's burial ground. There are actually so many experts here. Yi Xing looked at the other group of experts and saw the Azure Feather Empire's crown prince, Yu Chenggan. Clearly, these were all experts from the Azure Feather Empire. Using the super brain to scan their cultivation, Yi Xing found that the Azure Feather Empire's side was no weaker than the Azure Dragon Empire's side. The Azure Dragon Empire and the Azure Feather Empire's relationship wasn't friendly. Competing for an expert's burial ground could only be under the circumstances of equal strength. Therefore, the experts from both sides were similar. If there was a great disparity in strength, the stronger side would definitely expel the weaker side. I want to obtain the item in Supremacy Crimson Flame's burial ground, but with the Azure Dragon Empire and Azure Feather Empire's experts here, things won't be easy. Yi Xing frowned inwardly. He didn't expect that Supremacy Crimson Flame's burial ground would be discovered by others. If he had known earlier, he would have rushed over as soon as he became a level 3 array master. Yi Xing asked the sage beside him, and found out that not all of the array masters were from the two empires. A portion of them had been recruited by the two empires to break the formation. Yi Xing didn't rush to stand out and reveal that he was a level 3 array master. Instead, he used his X-ray vision and his super brain to scan, carefully observing the formation of Supremacy Crimson Flame's burial ground. Immediately, Yi Xing sucked in a breath of cold air. The standard of the formations here was even better than the one at the Qingyan Martial Highness, especially the 9 consecutive formations at the deepest part of the formation, which were connected into a whole. Regardless of which formation was triggered, it would trigger all 9 formations at the same time. Even a half Martial Highness would lose his life instantly when facing the 9 formations. Yi Xing even felt that even a supremacy might not be able to withstand the power of the 9 killing arrays. The power of the 9 killing arrays wasn't as simple as adding the power of the 9 killing arrays together. Instead, it was mutually reinforcing, multiplying the power. With each additional killing formation, the power would double from the previous one. In other words, 2 killing arrays would double the power, 3 killing arrays would quadruple the power, and 4 killing arrays would quadruple the power. 9 killing arrays were equivalent to 512 times the power. A level 3 greater success killing array formed by the formation base could kill a 9 celestial venerable with 512 times the power. Yi Xing was certain that the 9 interlinked arrays could kill a supremacy. Using a level 3 formation to set up a killing array that could kill a supremacy was comparable to a level 4 formation. Supremacy Crimson Flame was also a demon-level genius in the field of array masters. The outer formation may be powerful, but it can still be broken. As for the 9 killing arrays in the innermost area, I'm afraid only a level 4 array master can break them. It doesn't matter how many level 3 array masters there are. Yi Xing thought to himself. Of course, he didn't include himself when he said level 3 array masters. In terms of array masters, he wasn't strong enough to break the 9 interlinked arrays. However, he could use his super brain to scan and see the structure, weaknesses, and flaws of the array masters. In this way, he could break the array masters according to the flaws of the array masters. In terms of speed, he was faster than a level 4 array master in breaking the 9 interlinked arrays. If you understood the structure of an item, it would be much faster to break it. When Yi Xing arrived, the array masters had been breaking the array masters for several days. The outer formation was almost broken, and they were about to come into contact with the 9 interlinked arrays. Another day had passed. Finally, the outer formation was about to collapse. The array masters were about to face the 9 interlinked arrays. At this moment, Yi Xing stood out. Yi Xing shouted, "Stop!" His voice attracted the attention of all the martial artists, including the array masters. Yi Xing looked like a sallow young man. He looked sickly and didn't look pleasing to the eye. A level 3 array master from the Tsang Dragon Empire said unhappily after being interrupted by Yi Xing. "Brat, what are you shouting for?" Many experts from the Tsang Dragon Empire looked at him with sharp eyes. Yi Xing said, "You can't break the next 9 interlinked arrays. Don't touch them. You'll die if you touch them. Even venerables can die if they touch these 9 interlinked arrays." The martial artists were stunned. Even venerables could die. The array masters here were only level 3 arrays. How could it be so powerful? The level 3 array master from the Tsang Dragon Empire sneered and said, "Nonsense. What is a sickly person like you know? You're just trying to confuse people." Yi Xing said indifferently, "I'm also a level 3 array master." Yi Xing's domineering path has begun. Brothers and sisters, where are your monthly tickets? Chapter 451. Yi Xing's words caused all the martial artists to be stunned. Then, the level 3 array grandmaster from the Blue Dragon Empire laughed and said disdainfully, "A mere 3-star sage dares to call himself a level 3 array grandmaster? Sickly guy, are you here to be laughed at? Array Dao was more difficult than martial Dao. It would take a long time to become a level 3 array grandmaster. How could a martial artist who could become an array grandmaster have a bad aptitude? Even if they were not the best, they would not fall behind. Basically, a level 3 array grandmaster's cultivation would be at the high level of the astral realm. The 5 level 3 array grandmasters present were all at the high level of the astral realm. If Yi Xing was a 6-star sage, others would feel a little more convinced if he said he was a level 3 array grandmaster. Although such people were rare, they were not non-existent. However, none of the martial artists present had ever heard of a level 3 array grandmaster in the astral star realm. Therefore, it was not only the level 3 array grandmaster from the Tsang Dragon Empire who thought that Yi Xing was talking nonsense. Regardless of whether it was the Tsang Dragon Empire, the Qingyu Empire, or the warriors from other forces, some people laughed disdainfully. The 9th prince of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Xiao, even scolded coldly. "Where did this lunatic come from? How dare you spout nonsense here? Do you have a death wish?" Yi Xing glanced at Long Xiao indifferently. This person was still as annoying as before. Yi Xing had not settled the score with him yet, and now he was talking nonsense again. Of course, this was just Yi Xing's thought. Long Xiao did not know that the person in front of him was one of the 2 martial artists he had met 2 months ago in the depths of the Sky Corpse mountain range, and was being chased by a Corpse Dao martial artist. Yi Xing did not emphasize his identity as a level 3 array grandmaster. Instead, he activated 2 flaming array flags. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 array flags appeared on Yi Xing's left and right. They spun and turned into a flaming shield, emitting a powerful aura. Everyone present was either an array grandmaster, a sage, or a mid-level sage. None of them were weak. Yi Xing deliberately revealed the aura of the array formation. How could they not see that this was a large success level 3 defensive array formation? Facts spoke louder than words. Yi Xing was indeed a genuine 3rd-grade array grandmaster. This caused all the martial artists present to be startled and shocked. A rank 3 array master at the 3rd stage of the astral realm. This was truly an eye-opener. Among the crowd, only exalted Yang Gu had a look of surprise. However, there was something different about it. He thought to himself, Flaming Shield Astral Array. Fire Cloud Sect Masters Array Formation. Could this perfected 3-star be the Fire Cloud Sect Master in disguise, deliberately suppressing his cultivation level? As a Grade 3 Array Formation Grandmaster of the True Mystic region, Exalted Yonggu was naturally familiar with the array formations that the Fire Cloud Sect Master was proficient in. Furthermore, the two of them had studied array formations before. Exalted Yonggu was also very familiar with the Fire Cloud Sect Master's two flaming array flags. However, Exalted Yonggu denied it in his heart. He doesn't look like the Fire Cloud Sect Master. He doesn't look like him at all. Even his figure is different. This is not something that can be changed by wearing a mask. It's only the array flags and array formation that looks like him, but not the person. Exalted Yonggu was astonished. This person was not the Fire Cloud Sect Master, but the array formation he used was extremely similar. It was truly strange. Of course, even if Exalted Yonggu felt that the Flaming Shield Astral Array in Yi Xing's hand was identical to the Fire Cloud Sect Master's, he did not have any thoughts that it was related to Yi Xing killing the Fire Cloud Sect Master and snatching his array flags. Yi Xing was only perfected 3-star, while the Fire Cloud Sect Master was exalted 7-star. Furthermore, he was a 3rd-grade array grandmaster, so how could he be killed? It was impossible for Exalted Yonggu to have such thoughts. Facts spoke louder than words. All the warriors were astounded. Most of the warriors who had denied Yi Xing's claims were now sweating with shame. Especially Long Xiao, who had mocked Yi Xing, and the Azure Dragon Empire's 3rd-grade array grandmaster. Immediately, their faces turned livid. While they felt embarrassed, they were also infuriated. They looked at Yi Xing with hostility. A 3rd-grade array grandmaster enjoyed an extremely high status in the 72 lower regions of the East Divine Continent. However, in the 36 upper regions 2-star empires, their status was not that outstanding. Any 2-star empire would think nothing of a 3rd-grade array grandmaster. Even if Yi Xing was really a 3rd-grade array grandmaster, the experts of the Azure Dragon Empire did not change their attitude towards Yi Xing. Instead, because 9th Prince Long Xiao had been smacked in the face, they looked at Yi Xing with hostility. Long Xiao coldly snorted and said, "Since you are a 3rd-grade array grandmaster, you should have stood out earlier and helped break the formation. Now that the formation is about to be broken, you jump out and say that you are a 3rd-grade array grandmaster. Are you courting death?" Long Xiao's voice was cold and filled with killing intent. As soon as his voice fell, the experts of the Azure Dragon Empire all took a step towards Yi Xing. Surging auras surged towards Yi Xing. The warriors not far from Yi Xing felt the pressure of the Azure Dragon Empire's experts' auras. They were very unhappy. The Azure Dragon Empire was too overbearing. This person had only stood out and said that he was a 3rd-grade array grandmaster. However, no one believed him. Then he used his actions to prove the truth. Was he courting death? Of course, there was also a small portion of warriors who did not dare to be angry with the Azure Dragon Empire. Instead, they blamed the displeasure in their hearts on Yi Xing. They felt that Yi Xing had implicated them and caused them to be pressured by the auras of the Azure Dragon Empire's experts. On the other side, among the experts of the Qingyu Empire, Crown Prince Yu Qinggan walked forward and said, "Long, what he said is the truth. Did this offend you? Your narrow-mindedness is too much." Yu Qinggan's mount, the Green Dragon, followed beside Yu Qinggan, increasing Yu Qinggan's aura. In all aspects, it was stronger than Long Xiao. Although the two of them were core members of their respective teams, the weight of Yu Qinggan's words was much heavier than Long Xiao's. Yu Qinggan derided Long Xiao. His gaze fell on Yi Xing. He cupped his fists and said, "Brother, why did you say that the last 9 formations cannot be touched? It's not a 4th-grade formation. There are several 3rd-grade array grandmasters present. Why can't they break it?" Yi Xing was still very grateful towards Yu Qinggan. He said, "Young Master Yu, these 9 formations are a whole. The 9 formations are linked together. Pulling one will affect the whole. The strength of the formation can be compared to a 4th-grade formation. I've seen such a formation before. A 3rd-grade array grandmaster could not break it. If the formation is triggered, death is certain." When Yi Xing said the 3 words, "Young Master Yu," Yu Qinggan's heart shook fiercely. However, he did not show his emotions on his face. No one could tell. Although Yi Xing was approachable, there were not many people who dared to call him Young Master Yu. When Yi Xing called him Young Master Yu, It naturally made Yu Qinggan think of the two people who called him Young Master Yu recently, Yixing, Yang Gang. If the third-grade array grandmaster in front of him was really one of the two, then judging from the voice, it should be Yixing. This made Yu Qinggan very shocked in his heart. He and Yixing had only parted for 2 months. Not only did Yixing go from a 2-star sage to a 3-star sage, he even became a third-grade array grandmaster. What kind of speed was this? No wonder he's a peerless genius personally appointed by that important person. It's truly heaven-defying to the extreme. Yu Qinggan thought to himself, but his expression did not change. Yu Qinggan said, "There's actually a third-grade formation that can be compared to a fourth-grade formation? If a third-grade array grandmaster cannot break it, could it be that we must invite a fourth-grade array grandmaster? Since this brother has seen such a formation, do you have a way to break it?" Yixing nodded and said, "Of course I have a way to break the formation. However, after breaking the formation, I want 1/3 of the items in the burial ground." Yixing sized up the nearby martial artists with a glance. Only the Azure Dragon Empire and the Azure Feather Empire had the qualifications to compete with him. Although Yixing alone could break the formation, logically speaking, all the items after the formation was broken should belong to Yixing. However, these martial artists had already gathered here. Yixing could not possibly monopolize everything. This would arouse public indignation. Furthermore, they had already broken the outer formation previously. Even if they could not break the innermost 9-array chain and enter the burial ground, there was still hard work even if there was no merit. There was no harm in sharing a share of the loot with them. Most importantly, regardless of whether it was the Azure Dragon Empire or the Azure Feather Empire, they both had a large number of experts. Each side had a venerable 9-star and 2 third-grade array grandmasters. This was the combat strength of a venerable 9-star. Even if Yixing had the Crimson Flame suit, he was not easy to deal with. Hence, Yixing only took 1/3. This was the greatest concession he made. However, in Yixing's view, this was his concession. But in the eyes of the other martial artists, it was like a huge joke. A third-grade array grandmaster with a third-grade astral realm cultivation actually said that he wanted 1/3 of the treasures in the burial ground. This was putting him on the same level as the two teams from the Azure Dragon Empire and the Azure Feather Empire. The teams from the two empires, which side did not have many experts. There were more than 10 upper-grade astral realm cultivators, 2 third-grade array grandmasters on each side, and even more middle-grade Taoist masters. Yixing was only a third-grade array grandmaster, and his cultivation was only at the third-grade astral realm. How could he compare to the teams from the two empires? Not to mention the experts from the two empires, even the other martial artists looked at Yixing. They felt that Yixing's words were simply unbelievable. It was simply impossible to get 1/3 of the treasures from the two empires. However, out of everyone's expectations, the Azure Feather Empire's crown prince, Yu Qinggan, agreed to Yixing's proposal. Yu Qinggan said, "All right, the Azure Feather Empire agrees." Yu Qinggan did not say that he agreed, but that the Azure Feather Empire agreed. Clearly, he was representing the entire team. "Your Highness." Immediately, there were experts from the Azure Feather Empire who expressed their protest. In their view, Yixing's request was too much. How could they agree? Yu Qinggan simply did not allow them to finish speaking. The moment the experts from the Azure Feather Empire opened their mouths, he raised his palm and swept his gaze over with power. Although Yu Qinggan's cultivation was only at the 4th-grade astral realm, and among the experts from the Azure Feather Empire, his cultivation was at the lowest level. However, none of the experts from the Azure Feather Empire dared to disobey his orders. Under Yu Qinggan's gaze, even the upper-grade astral realm cultivators shut their mouths. Chapter 452. Ha 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 ha. The Blue Dragon Empire's third-level array master who spoke earlier laughed loudly and said, "Bullshit. Simply bullshit." The gazes of all the martial artists were attracted by his voice. They looked over and saw him pointing at Yixing and saying, "If you were a 4th-level array master, I might believe your words today, but you're only a 3rd-level array master, no different from us. Moreover, Your cultivation is only at the 3rd level of the astral realm, far from us. Compared to all the martial artists here, who do you think you are? Compared to the 2 great empires, you're not even a strand of hair. Yet you dare to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Sickly invalid, you've got guts. Do you really think that just because you're a 3rd level array master, no one here can kill you? The 9th prince of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Shao, looked at Yi Xing with murderous intent and said, I'm not like some people with a worrisome mind who will believe your nonsense. My Blue Dragon Empire wants half of the items in the burial ground. As for the Qingyu Empire's half, you can have as much as you want. Long Zhao's worrisome mind was obviously mocking Yu Qinggan. Most of the martial artists in the Qingyu Empire also did not believe Yi Xing's words. They were all 3rd level array masters. How could it be that Yi Xing could break the array but others could not? Moreover, how could a 3rd level array be compared to a 4th level array be possible? A 4th level array was a 4th level array. This was a terrifying array that could kill a venerable. How could a 3rd level array be compared to it? At this moment, Yu Qinggan was being mocked by Yi Xing. The martial artists of the Qingyu Empire were furious, but they could not vent this anger because they also felt that Yu Qinggan was wrong in this matter, and should not have listened to Yi Xing's words. Yi Xing's gaze swept towards Long Shao and said coldly, Don't mistake your stupidity for wisdom. Without me, you wouldn't have been able to break these 9 serial killing arrays. I saved your array master's life, and opened the array to the burial ground. Even if I wanted half of the items in the burial ground, it wouldn't be too much. I only want 1/3. Is this request too much? As Yi Xing said this, all the cultivators thought about it carefully, and felt that it really wasn't excessive. However, the reputation of the Qingyu Empire and the Blue Dragon Empire was too great. When Yi Xing first opened his mouth to ask for 1/3, everyone ignored the role of Yi Xing. They only focused on him snatching food from the tiger's mouth from the 2 great empires, so they felt it was inconceivable. Of course, many martial artists felt that what Yi Xing said wasn't excessive. This was based on the premise that what Yi Xing said was true. If Yi Xing was really as important as he said, then taking 1/3 of the harvest from the burial ground was not excessive, but incomparably generous. Long Shao clenched his fists, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. If not for the threat of the Qingyu Empire, he would have already given the order to tear Yi Xing into pieces. Although the status of a 3rd level array grandmaster was not very outstanding in a 2-star empire, it was still not comparable to an ordinary person. At least, a 3rd level array grandmaster was more important than a superior. Long Shao was worried that if he gave the order to deal with Yi Xing, the Qingyu Empire might intervene. In this way, Yi Xing and the Qingyu Empire would join forces, and the Qingyu Empire would have an additional 3rd level array grandmaster. It would be like adding wings to a tiger, which would not be a good thing for the team of the Blue Dragon Empire. Still bullish * ting there. The 3rd Great Array Grandmaster from the Blue Dragon Empire who had spoken earlier loudly shouted, I don't believe your nonsense. What do you mean a 3rd Great Array that can be compared to a 4th Great Array? What nonsense? What 9 arrays chain? You'll die if you touch them. I don't believe you. Open your eyes and watch how I break the last 9 arrays. As he spoke, the level 3 array grandmaster walked towards the last 9 killing arrays. Everyone looked over. Whether Yi Xing was telling the truth or not, it would be clear if someone tested it. However, the martial artists were still too confident in the 3rd level array grandmaster, and did not realize that Yi Xing had said that he would die if he touched it. If Yi Xing was telling the truth, wouldn't the 3rd level array grandmaster be killed by the array and die? The corners of Yi Xing's mouth curled up. He had already reminded them more than once. The 9 killing arrays were linked together, and anyone who touched them would definitely die. Since the other party insisted on seeking death, Yi Xing would not stop them. Instead, he laughed coldly, taking pleasure in their misfortune. The 3rd level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire stopped when he was about to step into the range of the 9 killing arrays. His gaze was deep as he observed the 9 killing arrays. Although he had spoken aggressively just now, he did not act rashly. Instead, he observed carefully. After all, if Yi Xing was telling the truth, the one who would die would be him. After observing for more than 10 breaths of time, The third-level array grandmaster did not make a move. Instead, he looked at Guru Yonggu and said, "You try attacking these 9 arrays." Many martial artists instinctively let out sounds of disdain. This fellow had spoken so aggressively, saying that Yi Xing was talking nonsense. However, he was actually worried that Yi Xing was telling the truth. Guru Yonggu was also a third-level array grandmaster. Moreover, he was a 9-star guru. Whether it was his array attainments or martial cultivation, he was not inferior to the third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire. However, because one of them was from a superior 1-star sect and the other was from a 2-star empire, the third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire felt superior and ordered Guru Yonggu around. Guru Yonggu said indifferently, "It's not that I don't believe this young friend's words. Why should I try?" The third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire was startled. He had not expected a third-level array grandmaster of the lower district to not give him face. He said coldly, "I told you to try, so you try. What are you being so long-winded for?" He only thought that his background was higher than Guru Yonggu's, but he did not think about how dangerous the task he wanted Guru Yonggu to do was. If he failed, he would lose his life. Guru Yonggu sneered and said, "Who do you think you are to order me around? If you have the guts, then try it yourself. If you don't, then don't pretend. Shame on you." Guru Yonggu was the strongest person in the True Xian region, and ranked first on the Heavenly Profound ranking. As a 9-star guru and a third-level array grandmaster, he could defeat any 9-star guru and compete with a half-step honorable. As a 2-star force, the Blue Dragon Empire was indeed very powerful. It was not something that Guru Yonggu could contend against. However, it was not something that any Tom, Dick, or Harry from the Blue Dragon Empire could order Guru Yonggu around. The third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire was at the 8th stage of the astral realm. He could not win against Guru Yonggu in terms of array Dao and martial Dao. How could Guru Yonggu take him seriously? Guru Yonggu's words made all the martial artists smile. The third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire was really unlucky to have stepped on a big iron plate. "What did you say? Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like this? Be careful that the Blue Dragon Empire will exterminate your entire Tiangang sect." The third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire was furious. He pointed at Guru Yonggu and roared. Yi Xing raised his eyebrows and looked at Guru Yonggu. It turned out that this third-level array grandmaster was from the Tiangang sect. Yi Xing knew that the Tiangang sect had a third-level array grandmaster, Guru Yonggu. He was ranked first on the Heavenly Profound ranking, and was the strongest person in the True Xian region. Yang Gang was a descendant of the Yang family of the Tiangang sect. In terms of seniority, Guru Yonggu should be Yang Gang's great-uncle. Yi Xing looked at Guru Yonggu. If the people of the Blue Dragon Empire dared to attack Guru Yonggu, Yi Xing would definitely lend a helping hand. However, what Yi Xing wanted to see more was how Guru Yonggu would react in the face of such a situation. Facing the other party's threat, Guru Yonggu's face immediately turned green. Flames of anger burned in his eyes. Anyone who heard someone say that they would exterminate their entire sect would be furious. This was everyone's reverse scale. Guru Yonggu said coldly, "You're just a dog. What qualifications do you have to represent the Blue Dragon Empire? If you're dissatisfied with this old man, then come at me." You. The third-level array grandmaster of the Blue Dragon Empire was suddenly at a loss for words. He looked at Guru Yonggu furiously, unable to say anything. Guru Yonggu was right. This person indeed did not have the qualifications to represent the Blue Dragon Empire. If the venerables of the Blue Dragon Empire were here, Guru Yonggu would naturally have no choice but to lower his head. However, this person wanted to order Guru Yonggu around. He was just asking for humiliation. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. "Guru Yonggu, if he doesn't have the qualifications to represent the Blue Dragon Empire, then what about me, the prince?" The one who spoke was the 9th prince of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Xiao. Everyone's eyes gathered on Long Xiao. Their hearts trembled. As the prince of the empire, of course Long Xiao could represent the Blue Dragon Empire. Long Xiao was in a very bad mood today. So when his anger rose, he did not think much and said, "Aren't you afraid that my Blue Dragon Empire will exterminate your Tiangang sect?" Whoosh! A terrifying aura erupted from Guru Yonggu's body, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. The third-level array Grandmaster was not qualified to represent the Blue Dragon Empire. His words were only a threat. Although Guru Yonggu was angry, he could still hold it in. However, as the Prince of the Empire, Long Zhao's words really triggered Guru Yonggu's anger. Guru Yonggu said, "Long Zhao, as the Prince of the Empire, please pay attention to your words. This world is not entirely the world of the Blue Dragon Empire. If you want to destroy a superior one-star sect just because you were refused to let others die, then come and destroy it. There are countless superior one-star sects in the world. I wonder how many the Blue Dragon Empire can destroy." After speaking, a pair of wings grew out of Guru Yonggu's back. He flew into the sky and left this place. The remaining martial artists of the Blue Dragon Empire looked at each other. With Guru Yonggu's words, if the Blue Dragon Empire dared to deal with the Tiangang sect, they would definitely become the public enemy of all the superior one-star sections. Even as a two-star empire, their strength was far above the superior one-star sections. However, if they were enemies all over the world, they would probably not have a good ending. In particular, the Blue Dragon Empire was not the only two-star empire in this world. The Blue Dragon Empire also had hostile empires. If all the superior one-star sects stood on the side of the hostile empire, what would the result be? Long Zhao's face was ashen. He looked fiercely at the third-level array Grandmaster and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Test the array." Chapter 453. Sensing the anger in Long Zhao's eyes, the level 3 array Grandmaster was shocked. He knew that he had caused trouble. Long Zhao's anger was now completely transferred to him. Although he was a little worried that Yi Xing was telling the truth, he had no choice but to try now. He waved his hand, and a few array flags flew out. The array flags landed and were inserted everywhere. In an instant, water rippled between the array flags. 2 dragon roars were heard, and 2 water dragons rushed out of the water. Each water dragon was more than 100 meters long. They were lifelike and contained terrifying power. Their aura was equivalent to venerable 9 stars. Level 3 Greater Mastery. Twin dragons emerging from the water formation. The level 3 array Grandmaster was not in a hurry to attack when the 2 water dragons appeared. Instead, 2 more array flags appeared on his left and right. These were 2 golden array flags. When they spun, they formed a golden light that enveloped the level 3 array Grandmaster. Level 3 Greater Mastery. Yin-Yang Golden Light Formation. This golden light could defend against venerable 9 stars all-out attack. At the same time, he refined 2 level 3 array flags, one for attack and one for defense. This level 3 array Grandmaster's ability to fight head-on was also extremely strong. Venerable 9 star could not compete with him. After making all the preparations, the level 3 array Grandmaster shouted, "Go!" As he spoke, he extended 2 fingers and pointed at a certain spot in the 9 killing arrays. 2 water dragons suddenly roared, and their auras became violent. They rushed out and fiercely attacked the spot the level 3 array Grandmaster had pointed at. The 2 water dragons attacked at the same time. It was not inferior to venerable 9 star's peak attack when his strength was at its peak. All the warriors widened their eyes. They wanted to see how the 9 killing arrays would react. Was Yi Xing telling the truth? In the blink of an eye, the 2 water dragons rushed into a killing array. The void rippled, and suddenly, a raging fire burned. 2 fire snakes instantly appeared. It was a level 3 Greater Mastery killing array, Yin-Yang Fire Snake Formation. Moreover, as the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Formation was activated, the other 8 arrays immediately bloomed with light. They were all activated. One array's golden light soared into the sky and turned into a huge golden saber. One array's green light bloomed and turned into countless green wood sword chi. A ripple appeared on the surface of an array formation, and 2 gigantic water dragons rushed out. A petrified monster from an array formation threw out a huge rock. A strong gale rose from the array formation, and wind blades shot out like arrows. a thunderous sound reverberated from a formation, and a bolt of purple lightning as thick as an arm shot out. One of the arrays shone with white light, shooting out a pure white beam of light. A pitch-black array formation shot out a pitch-black beam of light. Yin-yang fire snake formation, golden saber formation, greenwood sword formation, twin dragons emerging from water formation, flying stone formation, wind arrow formation, purple lightning berserk formation, holy light formation, and dark light formation. All 9 grade 3 grand completion formations were activated. These 9 formations contain the elements of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, and darkness. They formed a whole, and a single touch would cause the entire body to be affected. Every time a formation was added, the might of the formation would double. When the 9 formations were activated at the same time, their combined power multiplied by 512 times. When the fire snake, golden saber, wood sword chi, water dragon, giant rock, wind arrow, purple lightning, holy light, and dark light attacked at the same time, the nearby heaven and earth trembled, and the wind and clouds lost their color. The power of the formations was too terrifying. All the martial artists were shocked when they saw the 9 attacks. Even though they were far away, their faces turned pale, and they instinctively retreated. The power of the 9 formations was not inferior to that of a supremacy. In front of such terrifying power, the astral realm enlightened masters were like ants. Any resistance was futile. When the 9 formations were activated at the same time, the 2 water dragons that the Blue Dragon Empire's Grade 3 formation Grandmaster attacked were smashed into pieces in an instant. Then the 9 attacks were unstoppable. They were as fast as lightning and attacked the Grade 3 formation Grandmaster fiercely. The Grade 3 formation Grandmaster's face turned into horror, and he quickly retreated. However, the attacks of the 9 formations were even faster. They caught up with the Grade 3 formation Grandmaster in the blink of an eye. Under the suppression of the 9 formations, the formation flags of the twin dragons out of water formation and the yin-yang golden light formation broke at the same time. The Grade 3 formation Grandmaster's body was directly blasted into pieces, leaving only a mist of blood drifting in the air. All the items on his body, be it spiritual weapons, formation flags, or storage rings, were crushed into pieces by the attacks of the 9 formations. Whoosh! Whoosh! After killing the Grade 3 formation Grandmaster, the attacks of the 9 formations flashed like flowing light and retreated. The front returned to silence. The 9 formations quieted down. The Grade 3 formation Grandmaster had disappeared. However, the mist of blood that was still drifting to the ground proved that the terrifying attack just now had killed a Grade 3 formation Grandmaster in an instant. The martial artists were all dumbfounded. They did not even have time to exclaim. They were all scared silly. In an instant, 2 Grade 3 formation Grandmasters were destroyed. At the same time, an 8-star supremacy was turned into a mist of blood. Even an ordinary supremacy would not be able to do that. Hiss! After a full 2 breaths, the martial artists finally recovered from their daze. Some gasped, some exclaimed, and all of them had a lingering fear on their faces. The martial artists' gazes all shifted to Yi Xing. At this moment, their gazes were different from before. There was some reverence in their eyes. What Yi Xing had said was true. The 9 serial killing formations were even more terrifying than what Yi Xing had said. It was shocking. Nan Shangren. Among the martial artists of the Tsang Dragon Empire, someone murmured in disbelief. Shangren. Yi Xing glanced at the martial artist who murmured. It was not until the Grade 3 formation Grandmaster was killed that Yi Xing knew his name. Yi Xing's gaze fell on the 9th prince of the Tsang Dragon Empire, Long Xiao, and said, "You have already tested it. The result is clear whether what I said is true. If I break the formation, am I qualified to take 1/3 of the items in the burial ground?" Long Xiao's face was uncertain. There was lingering fear and shock, but there was also a burst of anger from the bottom of his heart that wanted to explode. The experts of the Tsang Dragon Empire were also shocked. They looked at Yi Xing with anger. Nantung Shangren was a Grade 3 formation Grandmaster with a cultivation of Grade 8 Astral Realm. His status in the Tsang Dragon Empire was not low. At least in the team of the Tsang Dragon Empire, His status was second only to the 9th Prince Long Xiao. He was on par with the other formation grandmaster of the Tsang Dragon Empire, Beichuan Shangren. His status was even higher than that of the 9-star supremacy in the team. Such a person had died just like that. Not even his corpse was left. Only a mist of blood was left. It was a loss for the Tsang Dragon Empire and the team. The experts of the Qingyu Empire were all secretly rejoicing. In the beginning, they didn't believe it. Fortunately, the crown prince of the Qingyu Empire, Yu Qinggan, made the correct judgment. Previously, the experts of the Qingyu Empire didn't understand Yu Qinggan's attitude, but now they admired Yu Qinggan's extraordinary eyesight. Otherwise, they wouldn't have believed it. Perhaps the Grade 3 formation grandmaster of the Qingyu Empire would have also gone up to give it a try. And as long as he tried, the result would be the same as the Nantung Shangren. Although the Nantung Shangren's death was entirely his own fault, and he couldn't blame anyone else, there were still many experts of the Tsang Dragon Empire who blamed it on Yi Xing. The other formation grandmaster of the Tsang Dragon Empire, Beichuan Shangren, had a good relationship with the Nantung Shangren. He was even more furious about the Nantung Shangren's death. Beichuan Shangren's gaze was like a sword as he stared at Yi Xing. He shouted, "What a black-hearted bastard. You clearly knew that the Nantung Shangren would be killed by the formation. Why didn't you stop it? Instead, you watched as he was turned into a mist of blood. How vicious." Yi Xing smiled disdainfully. He had already said enough before. The people of the Tsang Dragon Empire didn't believe him. If he had stopped it, the Nantung Shangren would definitely still say that he was talking nonsense. Now the Nantung Shangren was seeking his own death. He insisted on trying and was turned into a mist of blood. The Tsang Dragon Empire blamed him for the Nantung Shangren's death. How shameless. Yi Xing had already lost the patience to argue with them. He coldly glanced at the Beichuan Shangren and said, "Stop talking nonsense. If you have the ability, then break the formation. If you don't, then scram to the side. Don't embarrass yourself here." The Beichuan Shangren's anger immediately rose. He coldly said, "What did you say? Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like that?" Yi Xing helplessly shrugged and said, "First it was that idiot Nantung Shangren. Now it's you. The Tsang Dragon Empire is a 2-star force. It should be full of talents. Why are all of you so shameless? Haven't you embarrassed yourselves enough?" The Beichuan Shangren narrowed his eyes. The killing intent in his eyes surged. He wanted to attack Yi Xing and kill him on the spot. At this moment, Long Xiao raised his hand to stop the Beichuan Shangren. The Nantung Shangren's death was his own fault. "Beichuan Shangren, there's no need to argue with him." Long Xiao's gaze turned to Yi Xing. He paused and continued, "Brother, the Tsang Dragon Empire has agreed to let you obtain 1/3 of the items in the burial ground. Break the formation. Your Highness the 9th Prince." The Beichuan Shangren immediately looked at Long Xiao. Just as the Beichuan Shangren spoke, Long Xiao had already sent him a quintessential sound transmission. "Wait until he breaks the formation. Be vigilant. As long as he breaks the 9 killing formations, immediately attack and kill him with lightning speed." Long Xiao raised his hand and said, "Beichuan Shangren, there's no need to say anything. Let him break the formation." "Yes, Your Highness the 9th Prince." The Beichuan Shangren coldly snorted in his heart. He hid his killing intent and nodded to Long Xiao before stepping aside. The corners of Yi Xing's mouth curled up. Long Xiao had suddenly become so easy to talk to. This was not normal. However, Yi Xing was not afraid of the Tsang Dragon Empire playing any tricks. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes were courting death. Yi Xing stepped forward and began to set up the formation. He had already seen the 9 serial killing formations clearly. He had long since familiarized himself with the method to break the formation. The setting up of the formation was extremely smooth. In just over 4 hours, Yi Xing had broken 8 of the 9 great formations. Chapter 454. Yi Xing did not destroy the final yin-yang fire serpent array. Instead, he threw out a few array flags. These were the Fire Cloud Sect Master's incomplete yin-yang fire serpent array flags. Half of them had been destroyed by Yi Xing, leaving the other half behind. Although these array flags were unable to set up a complete array formation, they landed at critical spots and happened to sever the connection between the various array bases of the Yin-Yang Fire Serpent array. With the connection between the array bases severed, the array formation naturally could not be formed. It was as though it had been destroyed. In total, more than 4 hours, the 9 serial killing arrays set up by Supremacy Crimson Flame had been destroyed by Yi Xing. The difference was that the first 8 arrays were completely destroyed, while the 9th array was suppressed and sealed by array flags. It severed the connection between the array formations, making it appear as though the array formation had been destroyed, but it still existed. After doing all of this, Yi Xing heaved a sigh of relief. His face was slightly pale, as though he had expended quite a bit of energy. Yi Xing turned around and swept his gaze across the Azure Feather Empire and Azure Dragon Empire warriors. He said, "The 9 serial killing arrays have been destroyed. Everyone, you can enter the burial grounds now." At this moment, everything ahead was clear. In the middle of an empty valley, there was a small crimson palace. It was about 10 meters tall and more than 100 feet wide. The palace's walls were engraved with flame runes. The 2 doors were tightly shut. After Yi Xing said that, he turned and walked into the valley. The Azure Dragon Empire warriors immediately followed. Yu Qinggan waved his hand as the Azure Feather Empire warriors quickly walked forward. As for the other warriors, they did not dare to step into the valley. They did not have the strength to compete with the 2 empires. They only wanted to wait for the experts from the 2 empires to leave before entering the burial grounds. They wanted to see if the experts from the 2 empires had missed anything. Perhaps, they would be able to reap some benefits. Seeing Yi Xing safely walk past the area where the 9 killing arrays were, the warriors behind him heaved a sigh of relief. After ensuring that the 9 serial killing arrays were destroyed, Lord Beichuan quickened his pace and stood out from the Azure Dragon Empire warriors. At the same time, Exalted 9-star, Lu Yu, who was in the Azure Dragon Empire team, also walked forward quickly. Behind the Azure Dragon Empire team, in the Azure Feather Empire team, Yu Qinggan's brows pricked up. He sensed that something was amiss. Just as Yu Qinggan's brows pricked, Lord Beichuan immediately conjured a few array flags. These array flags were all green in color, and instantly grew to 10 feet in size. They were placed around Lord North River, and on each array flag were engraved patterns of flowers, plants, and trees. Once the formation flags were set up, a terrifying aura immediately erupted. Lord Beichuan waved his hand and countless strands of azurewood sword chi flew out of the formation. They were like a rain of swords as they shot toward Yi Xing. Dang 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 dang. Countless greenwood sword chi struck the flaming shield, creating a series of explosive sounds. Yi Xing was on high alert. He had long been on guard against the people of the Blue Dragon Empire, so how could he possibly be ambushed? He didn't even turn his head as he controlled the flame shield formation to block the attack of the greenwood sword chi. The greenwood sword array and the flaming shield array were rank 3 greater mastery killing array and rank 3 greater mastery defense array respectively. Defensive arrays of the same rank were slightly weaker than offensive arrays. Even though Master Beichuan's cultivation was much higher than Yi Xing's, and the astral energy contained within his formation was much stronger than Yi Xing's, the azurewood sword formation wouldn't be able to break through the defense of the flame shield formation. However, Lord Kitagawa wasn't the only one who had ambushed Yi Xing whoosh. Following the attack of the greenwood sword formation, a sword radiance as bright as a meteor streaked across the void in an instant. It was Master Lu Yu, who had stabbed his sword at Yi Xing. As a venerable 9-star, Master Lu Yu was using the supreme-grade spiritual martial art, meteor sword technique. Even though he didn't use his astrology, he had circulated his astral energy to the limit. His full-strength attack was extremely powerful. Even an 8-star venerable wouldn't be able to block Master Lu Yu's sword head-on, let alone Master Lu Yu's sudden attack. It was impossible to guard against and block. Long Xiao knew that Yi Xing was a rank 3 array grandmaster. If he was vigilant, Master Beichuan wouldn't be able to do anything to him even if he ambushed him. Therefore, after sending a voice transmission to Master Beichuan to attack Yi Xing, Long Xiao also sent a voice transmission to Master Lu Yu to take the opportunity to attack. While the two rank 3 array grandmasters were using their formations to fight, a Venerable 9-star Venerable's sudden attack was enough to instantly determine the outcome. The specialty of the meteor sword technique was its speed. It was as fast as a meteor streaking across the sky. Master Lu Yu's meteor sword technique had been cultivated to the greater mastery realm. Its speed was extremely fast. It really was like a meteor streaking across the sky, arriving in a flash. Hiss! In an instant, the sword light pierced the fire shield around Yi Xing's body. The fire shield had already reached its limit when facing the attack of the greenwood sword Qi. At this moment, Master Lu Yu's full-strength sword pierced through, instantly tearing a hole in the shield. The meteor-like sword light pierced through the fire shield and went straight for Yi Xing's back. If the sword pierced through, it would definitely go in from the back and out from the chest, piercing through the heart. It was a one-hit kill. It was an attack from Venerable 9-star Venerable, and the sword in Master Lu Yu's hand was a supreme-grade spirit weapon. It was incomparably sharp. Even if Yi Xing had a high-grade defensive treasure armor, he wouldn't be able to block this sword. There was no time to dodge. It was basically impossible to block it. In everyone's eyes, this sword was a sure-kill sword. Yu Qinggan's face instantly turned pale. Yi Xing was a peerless genius personally appointed by that important person. He had once instructed the core upper echelons of the Qingyu Empire's royal family that if Yi Xing's life was in danger, they must save him. Now Yi Xing's life was in danger. However, Yu Qinggan was too far away and couldn't save him. Moreover, even if Yu Qinggan was beside Yi Xing, with his strength, it was impossible to save Yi Xing from Master Lu Yu's hands. By the time he ordered Venerable 9-star Venerable of the Qingyu Empire, or a third-level array grandmaster, it would already be too late. If Yi Xing was killed in front of his eyes, Yu Qinggan really couldn't explain it to that important person. Just as Master Lu Yu's sword was about to pierce into Yi Xing's body, suddenly, a black treasure armor appeared around Yi Xing's body. Clang! With an explosive sound, the supreme-grade spiritual weapon sword pierced the black treasure armor and sparks flew everywhere. All the warriors were shocked and shocked. Amidst the sparks, the treasure sword in Master Lu Yu's hand instantly bent into a half-moon shape. The supreme-grade spiritual weapon sword pierced the black treasure armor, and even bent the sword body, but it still couldn't pierce through? What level of treasure armor was this? A high-grade spiritual level treasure armor definitely couldn't block the piercing of a supreme-grade spiritual weapon sword. Only a supreme-grade spiritual level treasure armor could. However, for a Venerable 3-star to be able to become a third-level array grandmaster was already incomparably shocking. Could it be that he also possessed a supreme-grade spiritual level treasure armor? The warriors' shock only lasted for a moment before they confirmed in their hearts that the black treasure armor outside Yi Xing's body indeed revealed the aura of a supreme-grade spiritual level treasure. Moreover, it wasn't just the treasure armor. Yi Xing also had a black helmet on his head, a pair of black gloves on his hands, and a pair of black combat boots on his feet. Treasure armor, helmet, gloves, and combat boots. These 4 items all revealed the aura of a supreme-grade spiritual level treasure. Moreover, these 4 supreme-grade spiritual level treasures had the same color and aura. They were perfectly linked together as if they were a whole. Obviously, this was a set of equipment. The shock in the hearts of the warriors instantly intensified 100 times. A supreme-grade spiritual level set? This was a rare treasure that was hard to find in the world. Not to mention the Qingyu Empire and the Blue Dragon Empire. Even all the empires in the entire East Divine Continent might not have a set. This was because there were no craftsmen in the world who could refine a spiritual level set. The refining method of a spiritual level set had long been lost a long time ago. Only in some ancient ruins could there be a chance of producing a supreme-grade spiritual level set. The most shocked was Master Lu Yu, who had stabbed Yi Xing with his sword. looking at the supreme-grade spiritual weapon sword in his hand that was bent into a half-moon shape. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Without waiting for the bent treasure sword to straighten, Yi Xing had already turned around. Boom, he punched out. The speed of his punch was faster than the speed of sound. The air exploded, forming a terrifying shockwave. Master Lu Yu, who was still in shock, was shocked. How could he have expected that Yi Xing would be able to counterattack after taking a blow from his sword? This was far beyond his expectations. In his shock, Master Lu Yu was hit in the chest by Yi Xing's punch. Puff! Master Lu Yu spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying by Yi Xing's punch. The terrifying shockwave rippled outwards, and even the greenwood sword chi in front of it was shattered. Master Beichuan was shocked. He immediately withdrew the greenwood sword chi and retreated. He looked at Yi Xing with vigilance, his face revealing a look of disbelief. It wasn't just Master Beichuan. All the warriors present had looks of disbelief in their eyes. However, the look of disbelief in his eyes was different from the rest. Most of the warriors were in disbelief. They couldn't believe that Yi Xing could instantly counterattack and injure Master Lu Yu after taking a blow from Master Lu Yu's sword. This was because even if a supreme-grade spiritual armor, or a set of supreme-grade spiritual weapons could block the sharpness of this sword, it would be difficult to block the power of this sword. How terrifying was Venerable 9 Star's full-strength attack. Even if Yi Xing's armor couldn't be pierced, his entire body should have been sent flying by this sword. How could he block the power of this sword? As for the few warriors who were in disbelief, they knew very well why Yi Xing could withstand Master Lu Yu's sword and immediately counterattack. This was because they recognized the supreme-grade spiritual weapon set Yi Xing was wearing. It was the famous Red Flame set from more than 100 years ago. What they couldn't believe was that the Red Flame set had disappeared with Venerable Red Flame. How could it appear in this world? Chapter 455. Those who could recognize the Scarlet Flame set were all experienced and knowledgeable people. For example, Qingyu Empire's Crown Prince Yu Chengqian, Blue Dragon Empire's 9th Prince Long Xiao, Master Beichuan, and a few others. After all, the Scarlet Flame Venerable had disappeared more than 100 years ago. Although most of the experts present were from the two empires, and had heard of the Scarlet Flame Venerable, or the Scarlet Flame set, they didn't necessarily recognize it. The Reverend Scarlet Flame and the Azure Dragon Empire had a life and death grudge. The Reverend Scarlet Flame's son Tianfun was killed by the Azure Dragon Empire's emperor, Reverend Xingyu. And the Azure Dragon Empire also had two one-star reverends who died at the hands of the Reverend Scarlet Flame. Therefore, most of the martial artists who recognized the Scarlet Flame set were from the Blue Dragon Empire. Scarlet Flame. Long Xiao fiercely stared at Yi Xing, his eyes containing a terrifying killing intent. He said, "Where did you get your Scarlet Flame set? Speak." Without waiting for Yi Xing to speak, Long Xiao sternly said, "Are you the descendant of that old bastard, the Scarlet Flame Venerable?" Hearing Long Xiao mention the Scarlet Flame set, and the Scarlet Flame Venerable, the martial artists finally understood. Disbelief once again appeared in their eyes. The Scarlet Flame Venerable's fame was not ordinary. A half-step Venerable, who could kill a one-star Venerable, was hard to find under the heavens. Moreover, the Scarlet Flame Venerable had killed 3 one-star Venerables in his life. It could be said that his battle record was illustrious. The Scarlet Flame set was the Scarlet Flame Venerable's treasure. It was also one of the things he relied on to fight astral-reaching Venerables. Extreme Grade Spirit set was rare to begin with, and the Scarlet Flame set was even more special. It could be activated with mid-grade star crystals, and erupt with the terrifying battle power of a 9-star Venerable. Absolute defensive power, coupled with the terrifying battle power of a 9-star Venerable, was terrifying to the extreme. It could completely sweep through a 9-star Venerable. The result of Master Lu Yu just now was proof. As a 9-star Venerable, Lu Yu's sudden attack could kill Venerables of the same realm if they relaxed their guard. However, Yi Xing was only a 3-star Taoist master. Under Master Lu Yu's sword, there was no way for him to dodge. Instead, he easily blocked the sword with his Crimson Flame set. Moreover, The Crimson Flame set was so powerful that it blocked the terrifying power contained in the sword. That was why Yi Xing was able to counterattack immediately. Otherwise, how terrifying was the power of this sword? Even if he wasn't sent flying, he would still be pushed back. How could he have the chance to immediately counterattack? Master Lu Yu, who had been sent flying by Yi Xing's punch, landed far away on the ground. He had already stood up, but his face was pale and he was coughing up blood. It was obvious that he had been seriously injured by Yi Xing's punch. Lu Yu's eyes were filled with fear. The defensive power of the Crimson Flame armor set was strong enough to ignore Master Lu Yu's attacks, but Master Lu Yu couldn't even withstand a single punch from the Crimson Flame armor set. How could he continue fighting? Yi Xing faced Long Xiao, and his voice sounded from under the skull helmet. How I get the Crimson Flame armor set is none of your business. A dignified 2-star empire is full of sneaky people who only dare to sneak attack from behind. How despicable. Since he had used the Crimson Flame armor set, Yi Xing was not afraid of becoming enemies with the Blue Dragon Empire. Anyway, he didn't show his true face this time. At worst, he would only use this human skin mask once and never use it again. Although the Blue Dragon Empire was powerful, they didn't even know who he was. There was no way for them to regain their dignity. The experts of the Qingyu Empire immediately sneered. They were happy to see the Blue Dragon Empire suffer a loss. Long Zhao's face was full of murderous intent. The Crimson Flame armor set was a disgrace to the Blue Dragon Empire, and even more so to the Dragon Royal family, because the 2 venerables of the Blue Dragon Empire killed by the Red Flame Venerable were both from the Dragon Royal family. Long Xiao looked coldly at Yi Xing and said, "Are you the descendant of the Red Flame Venerable?" The Red Flame Venerable hadn't seen him for 100 years. Although his son Tianfen had died long ago, it was not difficult for him to have another son if he wanted to. Therefore, Yi Xing suspected that Yi Xing was the descendant of the Red Flame Venerable. Only the descendant of the Red Flame Venerable could have the Crimson Flame armor set. Yi Xing's voice came from the skull helmet. "You're really persistent about this question. I'm not the descendant of the Red Flame Venerable, and I have nothing to do with the Red Flame Venerable. I got this Crimson Flame armor set by accident. Are you satisfied with your answer?" Long Xiao stared at Yi Xing, his eyes changing. After a while he said, "Since you have nothing to do with the Red Flame Venerable, you only need to leave the Crimson Flame armor set. Then I'll spare your life today." Ha 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 ha. Yi Xing laughed wildly and said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to spare my life? The 2 experts of the Blue Dragon Empire should have died for attacking me, but I'll spare their lives for the sake of the Blue Dragon Empire. All of you get lost. The Blue Dragon Empire has no share in this burial ground." Master Bei Chuan and Master Lu Yu had ambushed Yi Xing. With Yi Xing's personality, he should have returned the favor by taking their lives. Long Xiao, on the other hand, had a grudge between them, so it was only right for him to settle it once and for all. However, the Blue Dragon Empire was a 2-star power after all. They had astral-reaching venerables, and their strength was extremely frightening. Even if Yi Xing planned to use this identity only once today, he didn't want to offend the Blue Dragon Empire too deeply, and let the Blue Dragon Empire's experts leave safely. Long Xiao laughed fiercely. "Reckless fool. You think you're invincible with the Crimson Flame armor set? Not to mention that the Crimson Flame armor set requires mid-grade star crystals to activate, and that each activation can only last for half a quarter of an hour. Just the energy consumption of the Crimson Flame armor set alone is not something a mere 3-star venerable like you can hold on for long. And my Blue Dragon Empire has many experts here. Not only do we have a 3rd-grade array master, a 9-star venerable, and more than 10 7-star and 8-star venerables. How can you fight us? Moreover, my Blue Dragon Empire's strength is extremely powerful. Experts are as numerous as the clouds, and experts are as numerous as the rain. Do you really think our strength is limited to these people before you? Hee. This prince is magnanimous and kindly spared your life, but you don't know how to be grateful, and even speak such arrogant words. Do you really think my Blue Dragon Empire's experts can't kill you just because you have the Crimson Flame armor set? Yu Qinggan, who had been silent all this time, finally seized the opportunity to speak. The Blue Dragon Empire is so tyrannical. This Crimson Flame armor set doesn't belong to your Blue Dragon Empire. What qualifications do you have to ask this brother to hand over the Crimson Flame armor set? This brother, you broke the 9 serial killing arrays, allowing my Blue Feather Empire's experts to enter the burial ground to search for treasures. My Blue Feather Empire is very grateful. Humph! Who dares to touch someone my Blue Feather Empire is grateful to? However, Yi Xing did not need the Blue Feather Empire's help. He did not want to owe anyone a favor. Yi Xing said, I appreciate the Blue Feather Empire's kindness, but I don't need anyone's help to deal with this mob. Starting tomorrow, speed up and continue to update. Chapter 456. Yu Qinggan's expression was slightly surprised. Yi Xing actually rejected the Qingyu Empire's help. Could he really contend against all the experts of the Blue Dragon Empire alone? Although Master Lu Yu was injured, the Blue Dragon Empire's experts were not few. Apart from the 3rd-level formation Grandmaster, Master Bei Chuan, there were 4 8-star masters and 7 7-star masters. Moreover, the Blue Dragon Empire also had more than 10 middle-level perfected masters. Together, they were also a strong force. However, these people, in Yi Xing's words, were just a mob. Yu Qinggan thought to himself, the Blue Dragon Empire's team has many experts, and their strength is not weaker than my Qingyu Empire's team. If they are just a motley crew, then how strong is Yi Xing? Could it be that he still has a hidden card? Yu Chengqian led the warriors of the Qingyu Empire to retreat to the side. He secretly transmitted a message to Venerable 9-star, a level 3 array Grandmaster. Be alert. If this brother's life is in danger, help him at any time. Master 9-star and the 3rd-level formation Grandmaster of the Qingyu Empire secretly transmitted their acknowledgement. They did not have any extra thoughts about Yu Qinggan's order. After all, the Blue Dragon Empire and the Qingyu Empire were not on friendly terms. It was normal for the Qingyu Empire to rescue someone that the Blue Dragon Empire wanted to deal with. When the Blue Dragon Empire's martial artists heard Yi Xing call them a mob, they were all furious. They looked at Yi Xing with surging killing intent. Just the fact that Yi Xing was wearing the Crimson Flame suit was enough to arouse the killing intent of the Blue Dragon Empire's martial artists. Not to mention that Yi Xing was looking down on them. Long Xiao said coldly, You really think that you are invincible with the Crimson Flame suit, humph? You see us as a motley crew. But this motley crew is enough to take your life. Let's see what will happen when the power of the Red Flame suit weakens after you hold on for a few minutes. Yi Xing's voice was cold but full of confidence. He said, Half an hour is more than enough to sweep away your mob. Long Zhao's face darkened. He slashed at Yi Xing and shouted, Kill this bastard. The Scarlet Flame set could last for 7 to 8 minutes with the help of a middle-grade star crystal. However, that was only for battle time, not absolute time. If it was absolute time, Long Xiao would not be in a hurry to attack Yi Xing. He would only need to wait for half an hour for the mid-grade astral crystals in the Crimson Flame set to run out. If Yi Xing wanted the Crimson Flame set to unleash its full power again, he would have to reload it with mid-grade astral crystals. This would definitely take some time. If Long Xiao seized this opportunity to attack, he would be able to easily kill Yi Xing. As long as there was no battle, Yi Xing could keep the Scarlet Flame set in its normal state without activating the mid-grade star crystal. Once he faced an attack, he would activate the mid-grade star crystal and let the Scarlet Flame set erupt with its full power. In this way, the Blue Dragon Empire's warriors wouldn't take the initiative to attack, and the Scarlet Flame set would always be there. Hence, if Long Xiao wanted to kill Yi Xing, he had to take the initiative to attack. The Blue Dragon Empire's experts had already secretly discussed how to kill Yi Xing. Long Xiao gave the order, and Beichuan immediately activated the array. This time, the array flag Master Beichuan took out wasn't a green array flag, but a golden one. 2 golden array flags shot out to the left and right, growing to 3 meters tall. They stood 300 meters apart, radiating a golden light. The golden light enveloped all the Blue Dragon Empire's warriors. This was a defensive array, the Yin Yang Golden Light Array. The great success Yin-Yang Golden Light Array was activated by Beichuan, a rank 3 array grandmaster. Even Venerable 9-star would find it very difficult to break it. With the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array's defense, the Blue Dragon Empire's warriors in the array moved. They all executed their martial techniques and attacked Yixing. In an instant, astral lights shot out. There were astral swords, astral sabers, astral spears, astral fists, astral palms, and various other attacks. The array was controlled by the array master. At this moment, Beichuan was controlling the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array to defend against external attacks. He ignored all external attacks. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. None of the attacks were blocked by the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array. They shot out more than 300 meters and attacked Yixing. A perfected person's inner energy was incomparably dense. Astral energy could be condensed into weapons and unleashed terrifying attacks. Even though they were more than 300 meters away, the various astral light attacks from the warriors were still terrifying. They were not much weaker than direct attacks. With so many densely packed attacks, even a half-martial highness would have no choice but to dodge them instead of taking them head-on. However, although the Crimson Flame set could not unleash the offensive power of a half-step venerable, its defensive power far surpassed that of a half-step venerable. It did not fear the attacks of the Blue Dragon Empire's experts. Yixing used the Flaming Astral Fist repeatedly, and shattered the astral light attacks of Master Lu Yu and a few 8-star venerables. There were too many astral light attacks. Yixing could not destroy them all. He only chose to destroy a few of the stronger astral light attacks. The rest of the astral light attacks landed on the Crimson Flame set. Yixing was wearing the Crimson Flame set. He was like an iron tower and did not move at all. The astral light attacks could not break the defense of the Crimson Flame set, nor could they affect Yixing. However, the corners of Long Zhao's mouth curled up into a cold smile. The defense of the Crimson Flame set was almost invincible for those below the Venerable Realm. Long Zhao did not intend to defeat Yixing by breaking the defense of the Crimson Flame set. Instead, he wanted to continue attacking, allowing Yixing to constantly use the mid-grade astral crystal to maintain the Crimson Flame set's combat state. This way, it would only take about 15 minutes for the Crimson Flame set's mid-grade astral crystal to be completely depleted, greatly reducing its strength. When Yixing used the mid-grade astral crystal again, it would be the time for the Azure Dragon Empire's experts to truly kill him. Long Zhao believed that when that happened, Yixing would definitely die. Yixing was struck by the numerous astral light attacks. Not only did he not retreat, he even took a step forward. His body shot forward like an arrow as he punched out. The punch broke the sound barrier as the air exploded, producing translucent shockwaves. The punch's might was astounding. Boom! Instantly, Yixing's punch struck the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, producing a deafening explosion. The golden light trembled as Master Beichuan's figure moved slightly. The might of the Crimson Flame set was indeed terrifying. The punch had affected him. However, Master Beichuan's attainments in array formations were clearly higher than the Fire Cloud Sect Masters. The Yin-Yang Golden Light Array's defensive strength was stronger than the Fire Cloud Sect Master's Flaming Shield Astral Array. Although Yixing's attack could break through the array formation's defenses, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. At the very least, he would not be able to shake the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array's defenses for about 15 minutes. In the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, Long Zhao, as the commander, did not attack. Instead, he laughed out loud and said, "Bastard! Do you think you are invincible with the Crimson Flame set? Now you are unable to break through the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, and can only take a beating. In about 15 minutes, the Crimson Flame set will lose its strength. That will be the moment you die. Kill. Attack ruthlessly. Don't let this bastard catch his breath. Before the Crimson Flame set loses its strength, tire him to death." Boom. Boom. Yixing only destroyed a few of the stronger attacks. The rest of the attacks landed on the Crimson Flame set, and remained unscathed. Yixing laughed and said, "What, 9th Prince of the Empire? You are just an idiot among idiots. You are all hiding in the array. If I am no match for you, can't I run? You idiots! Who dares to come out of the array to kill me?" When Yixing said this, All the warriors present were startled. That's right. If I can't beat him, can't I run? The Blue Dragon Empire relied on the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, which could block Yi Xing's attacks. If Yi Xing wanted to run, Beichuan Shangren would have to maintain the array, and would not be able to use his speed. They would not be able to catch up. If Yi Xing suddenly attacked without maintaining the array, it would be difficult to resist. If Yi Xing did not fight to the death with the Blue Dragon Empire in one place, but instead moved and stretched the battle line, it would not be easy for the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire to kill him. Yi Xing continued, "There is only one reason why I did not run. That is, I did not put you motley bunch in my eyes. Originally, I only wanted to coexist peacefully with you and obtain a third of the items in the burial ground. However, you people of the Blue Dragon Empire went too far and forced me into a dead end. Since that is the case, I can only kill all of you. The third of the Blue Dragon Empire's items will belong to me." Yi Xing's voice was full of confidence. All the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire were shocked when they heard this. They simultaneously stopped their attacks and looked at Yi Xing with bewilderment and shock in their eyes. Yi Xing said that he wanted to kill all of them. How was this possible? None of the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire believed it. However, Yi Xing's tone made them feel a little scared. Long Xiao snorted and shouted, "You are just trying to scare people. The reason why you did not run was because you could not give up on the treasures in the burial ground. You want to scare us to stop? Stop daydreaming. Kill us all. Come and try to kill us. Don't stop. Continue attacking. Do not give him any chance to breathe." Long Zhao's words made the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire feel refreshed. With a reasonable explanation, the trace of shock in their hearts disappeared. One by one, they operated their astral energy and continued to attack Yi Xing with all their strength. At this time, Yi Xing raised his hands and shouted, "You are courting death. Rise." In the area covered by the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, several flame array flags that were deeply embedded in the ground suddenly rose into the air. They were the flame array flags that Yi Xing had planted to block the connection of the array when he was breaking the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array. These flame array flags cut off the connection of the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array's base, causing the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Seal to have no effect. Yi Xing had broken 8 of the 9 killing arrays. The last one, the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array, was not directly destroyed by Yi Xing. Instead, he used the array flags to break it. He deliberately left a trick up his sleeve, so that he could destroy the array flags he had planted at any time, and activate the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array again. Yi Xing had just passed through the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array's area when Master Beichuan launched a sneak attack at him from behind. At this time, the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire were behind Yi Xing, and just happened to be in the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array's area. If the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array was activated again, they would be the first to bear the brunt of the array's attack. Now these flame array flags had drilled out from the ground. The Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array's base was once again connected. In an instant, a terrifying array aura appeared. 2 huge fire snakes that were more than 100 meters long suddenly appeared out of thin air. The warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire were all shocked. These 2 fire snakes appeared in the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, and directly rushed towards them from the left and right. Master Beichuan had activated the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array to defend against Yi Xing. How could he have expected that the attack would suddenly start from the inside? Immediately, miserable screams rang out continuously. The Flame Venerable's attainments in arrays were extremely high. The Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array's power was very terrifying. Even if it was a single array, Venerable 9-star would find it difficult to resist. As for the warriors below Venerable 9-star, they were, of course, instantly killed when attacked by the 2 fire snakes. In just the blink of an eye, several experts of the Blue Dragon Empire had died. Most of them were mid-level venerables, but there were also high-level astral realm venerables. The warriors of the Qingyu Empire looked at the miserable state of the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire, and were all shocked. A trace of coldness flashed through their hearts. Who would have thought that this 3-star venerable had actually left a trick up his sleeve when breaking the 9 serial killing arrays? He is not only a martial and array genius. His scheming is as terrifying as his martial and array talents. The people of the Blue Dragon Empire are finished. Yuchingan's eyes were also filled with surprise. The sudden appearance of the Yin-Yang fire snake array was beyond his expectations. Only now did he realize that Yi Xing hadn't been boasting when he said that he would kill all the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire. No wonder he had been so confident. The two fire snakes rampaged. Wherever they passed, the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire were basically instantly killed. Even the venerable 8-star venerables couldn't resist for more than a few breaths of time. Only Venerable 9-star and Master Beichuan, who were both Venerable 9-star venerables and level 3 array grandmasters, could resist the attack of the Yin-Yang fire snake array. Save me. Hurry up and save me. Long Xiao was scared out of his wits. When he saw a fire snake rushing towards him, he screamed in horror. Your Highness the 9th Prince! Master Beichuan exclaimed. He immediately withdrew the Yin-Yang golden light array and struck out with both palms at the fire snake attacking Long Xiao. At the same time he shouted, "Brother Lu, save him!" Without waiting for Master Beichuan to speak, a pair of wings grew out of Venerable Lu Yu's back. His figure was like lightning as he shot to Long Xiao's side. Venerable Lu Yu pulled Long Xiao and soared into the sky, fleeing into the distance. Master Beichuan blocked the Yin-Yang fire snake array and withdrew the Yin-Yang golden light array. There was no longer any obstruction between the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire and Yi Xing. Venerable Lu Yu knew how powerful Yi Xing was and didn't dare to stay for even a moment. Yi Xing didn't give chase. Instead, he raised his hand and a dazzling big bow appeared in his hand. On the bow, there was a glittering gem that looked like 7 stars. Supreme Grade Spirit Bow. Big Dipper Bow. The Big Dipper Bow was the best Supreme Grade Spirit Bow. Yi Xing couldn't draw it at all. However, he was currently wearing the Crimson Flame set, so drawing the Big Dipper Bow was naturally not a problem. In an instant, the Big Dipper Bow in Yi Xing's hand was drawn into a full moon. The Big Dipper gem shone brightly and condensed into an arrow of starlight, locking onto Venerable Lu Yu in the sky. My mistake. I was busy today, so I could only update a 4,000-word chapter. Sorry. Chapter 457. Whoosh. The arrow streaked across the sky like a flash of light. Master Lu Yu's speed was indeed fast. His wings were a high-grade flying spiritual weapon, and he was in the 9th stage of the astral realm. In the blink of an eye, he was several miles away. However, the arrow shot from the Big Dipper Bow was even faster. When Yi Xing shot the arrow, the distance between him and Master Lu Yu was close to 10 miles. However, the arrow tore through the air and caught up to Lu Yu in an instant. It tore through Lu Yu's protective aura like tofu and pierced through his back and out his chest, piercing through Lu Yu's heart. Master Lu Yu was a venerable 9-star, but he didn't even have time to dodge when he sensed the danger. It was obvious that the starlight arrow shot from the Big Dipper Bow was terrifyingly fast. Master Lu Yu had taken a punch from the Crimson Flame suit and was already heavily injured. Now that his heart had been pierced, he immediately screamed and fell from the sky. Long Xiao, who was in Master Lu Yu's hands, was scared out of his wits. The tables had turned so quickly that the 9th prince, who had never experienced life and death, was scared out of his wits. However, Long Xiao was a venerable 5 stars after all. Although he was scared, he wasn't scared out of his wits. The Supreme Grade flying spiritual weapon instantly appeared behind Long Xiao and stopped him from falling. Whoosh! Long Xiao was about to use the Supreme Grade flying spiritual weapon to continue his escape, but the starlight arrow that killed Master Lu Yu suddenly changed direction and continued to shoot toward Long Xiao. Yi Xing's attainments in the art of archery allowed him to change according to his will. The power of this arrow of starlight was too terrifying. Even after killing Lu Yu, it was still powerful. With a thought, Yi Xing continued to attack Long Xiao. In an instant, the starlight arrow shot into Long Xiao's chest. Long Xiao immediately screamed and fell from the sky. The second attack of the starlight arrow wasn't as good as the first. It didn't penetrate Long Xiao's body. Instead, it was fixed on Long Xiao's chest and dissipated. It turned into sharp arrow chi and continued to destroy Long Xiao's body. This starlight arrow could kill venerable 9 stars. Even if it was a second attack, Long Xiao wouldn't be able to withstand it. This arrow did not hit Long Xiao's heart, so Long Xiao was seriously injured. He fell from the sky, but he did not die. If it had hit his heart, he would have been killed instantly. Your Highness the Ninth Prince. Master Beichuan roared in shock, his expression horrified. The Blue Dragon Empire was ruled by imperial authority. Although Long Xiao was only a 5-star spiritual master, he had the identity of a prince. Moreover, he was a prince with an extremely outstanding aptitude. His status was lofty and was far from comparable to the venerable master. If Long Xiao died, then all of the Azure Dragon Empire's martial artists present would be guilty of failing to protect him. Even if they escaped back to the Azure Dragon Empire, it would be difficult for them to survive. Lord Beichuan roared in shock and rushed towards Long Xiao. He couldn't care less about the other Azure Dragon Empire martial artists who were being attacked by the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array. Yi Xing was wearing the Crimson Flame armor set. He had boundless strength and peerless power. Although the Big Dipper bow required extremely strong strength to draw, it was not difficult for the current Yi Xing. In an instant, the Big Dipper bow was drawn into a full moon by Yi Xing, erupting with terrifying power that could kill venerable 9 stars. The 7 gems emitted a resplendent light, and condensed into a starlight arrow that locked onto Master Beichuan. Before Master Beichuan could rush to Long Xiao's side, he felt the danger of death. His heart turned cold, and his hair stood on end. Whoosh! In an instant, Yi Xing released the bowstring, and the starlight arrow shot out. Like a meteor flashing across the sky, it instantly shot behind Master Beichuan. When Master Beichuan felt the danger to his life, he activated 2 golden array flags, and the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array instantly formed. This time, the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array only had a radius of 1 meter, and it only enveloped Master Beichuan. The smaller the golden light range, the stronger the defense. Master Beichuan's attainments in Array Dao were profound. If he focused on defense, he could block almost any attack from venerable 9 stars. However, under the attack of the starlight arrow, a light poo sound was heard. A crack was instantly torn apart by the starlight arrow. With the same attack power, the penetrative power of the arrow was stronger than any other attack. The arrow of starlight shot out in an instant. The tip of the arrow hit the golden light hard. Its penetrating power was terrifying. Even if the golden light could withstand the venerable 9 stars' most powerful attack, it couldn't withstand the penetration of the arrow of starlight. The starlight arrow pierced through the golden light and continued to shoot forward, shooting into Master Beichuan's back. After all, it was blocked by the Yin-Yang Golden Light Array, so the power of the arrow was greatly weakened. The arrow only pierced 1 or 2 inches into Master Beichuan's body. Even though the starlight arrow instantly dissipated and turned into arrow chi that rushed into Master Beichuan's body to destroy it, Master Beichuan's cultivation was profound, and his astral energy was dense. He was only injured in a small area by the arrow chi, and his injuries were not serious. Whoosh! Another starlight arrow shot over, arriving in the blink of an eye. The power of the Crimson Flame set was too strong. It was equivalent to that of a venerable 9 star. In Yi Xing's hands, the Big Dipper bow could be drawn at will. Not to mention 3 arrows, even 10 arrows would not be a problem. Master Beichuan's face was filled with despair. He screamed as the starlight arrow pierced through him, and his body fell from the sky. Just like Venerable Lu Yu, Master Beichuan's heart was pierced by the starlight arrow, and he died in the blink of an eye. Of the 2 venerable 9 stars, Master Beichuan was a level 3 array grandmaster. They were 2 of the strongest martial artists in the Azure Dragon Empire. Yet they had both died. The 9th prince of the Azure Dragon Empire, Long Xiao, was severely injured. He fell to the ground and coughed up blood continuously. He could no longer move, and his eyes were filled with fear. As for the other Azure Dragon Empire martial artists, they were attacked by the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array. They could not resist at all. Even the venerable 8 stars could not escape. They were all wiped out. In the entire Azure Dragon Empire team, there were more than 10 venerables, more than 10 mid-level venerables, and the Black Widow of the Earth Fiend sect. Other than Long Xiao, who was severely injured, everyone else had died. In the distance, The martial artists of the Qingyu Empire and the one-star sects were all shocked. They looked at Yi Xing with deep respect in their eyes. Who would have thought that this Astral Star Realm Level 3 Array Grandmaster would possess the Scarlet Flame set? Not only did he possess such terrifying strength, but he also had such a terrifying scheming mind. When he was breaking the array, he had already kept the Yin-Yang Fire Snake Array. Most importantly, he also had such a terrifying supreme-grade spirit bow, which could easily kill Venerable 9 stars. They did not expect this, and neither did the martial artists of the Azure Dragon Empire. Therefore, the martial artists of the Azure Dragon Empire were completely defeated. Yi Xing put away the Big Dipper bow. The crimson flame set entered his body, and the black wings appeared on his back. He flew forward. Yi Xing put away Master Lu Yu's and Master Beichuan's mid-grade storage rings, high-grade flying spiritual tools, and damaged array flags. Soon, Yi Xing arrived in front of Long Xiao and said indifferently, "Now are you satisfied?" Chapter 458. Long Xiao coughed up blood, his eyes full of regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have dared to have any ideas about Yi Xing. Long Xiao looked at Yi Xing, his eyes full of begging. "I beg you, don't kill me. If you let me live, my father will give you treasures, a lot of treasures." Yi Xing's expression was indifferent as he said, "Your father? The Emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, an astral-reaching venerable, he. I'm too cowardly. Even if your father really wants to give me treasures, I wouldn't dare to take them." Yi Xing sized up Long Xiao as if he was looking at a treasure. "Speaking of treasures, the treasures on your body are more attractive to me. 9-star yellow fate. This is not an ordinary fate. Compared to yours, my fate is far inferior." Long Xiao was stunned. Yi Xing said that the most precious treasure on his body was the 9-star yellow fate. Indeed, the 9-star yellow fate meant that one was destined to become a 9-star venerable. If one had the opportunity, it was possible to break through to the venerable realm. This was something that no treasure could achieve. However, this was only his fate. How could he blame others? This was his talent. Others could take his life, but they couldn't take away his talent. If Long Xiao knew that Yi Xing could devour other people's fates, he would understand why Yi Xing said so. Long Xiao said with a trembling voice, "The most precious treasure on my body is a supreme-grade flying spirit tool. If you want it, I'll give it to you. I'll give you everything else. I only ask that you give me a way out." Yi Xing slammed his palm on Long Xiao's head, knocking him out. Then, he sealed his meridians and lifted him up by grabbing his clothes. "Unfortunately, you didn't give me a way out before. Why should I give it to you now?" Yi Xing said to himself indifferently, grabbing Long Xiao and walking back. Yi Xing was still Yi Xing, and his cultivation was still at level 3 of the astral realm. However, the martial artists of the Qingyu Empire had a completely different impression of Yi Xing. Even those who were at the high level of the Star Gang realm did not dare to look directly at Yi Xing. They could only secretly size him up. Yu Qinggan stepped forward and said, "Brother, you have the Scarlet Flame set and the extreme-grade spiritual bow. Your strength is terrifying, and even the 9-star venerable is far from being your opponent. However, even so, it is still not enough to contend against the Azure Dragon Empire. You have obtained the treasures in the burial ground, so leave quickly. The Azure Dragon Empire has a half-step venerable guarding Wu City. It won't be long before they arrive here." At this moment, the martial artists from the one-star sects had already left one by one. Although they wanted to drink a mouthful of soup, the death of so many experts from the Azure Dragon Empire was definitely a big matter. The experts from the Azure Dragon Empire would soon arrive. They did not dare to stay, lest they get caught in the crossfire. Yi Xing came in front of Yu Qinggan and said, "Wu City is hundreds of thousands of miles away from here. Even a venerable wouldn't be able to rush here in a short time." Yu Qinggan said, "Brother, you are wrong. The Azure Dragon Empire has set up a level 4 teleportation formation in Wu City. It can teleport 100,000 miles in any direction." The martial artists of the Azure Dragon Empire were all annihilated, and Long Zhao's life was at stake. As long as any martial artist crushed the communication talisman, the half-step venerable in Wu City would know. I'm afraid that at this moment, He has already activated the teleportation formation and rushed here. As the 9th prince of the Azure Dragon Empire, Long Xiao suddenly had something on him that was being tracked. In short, the half-step venerable in the Azure Dragon Empire will rush to Long Xiao's location at the fastest speed. It won't take too long. Since Yi Xing hid his identity, Yu Qinggan naturally would not point it out. However, he had to tell Yi Xing about the danger he was facing. Yi Xing obviously knew that the Azure Dragon Empire was very strong. However, this was not the Azure Dragon Empire after all. With his current means, as long as a venerable did not appear, he had nothing to fear. Yi Xing said, Wu City only has one half-step venerable in charge. What about the venerable in the Azure Dragon Empire? How fast can he get here? As the crown prince of the Qingyu Empire, Yu Qinggan naturally understood the Azure Dragon Empire very well. He said, the Azure Dragon Empire's territory is vast. Although there is a level 4 teleportation formation at the capital that can teleport 100,000 miles, it will not be able to get here in a short time. It will take at least half a day or more. Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, looks like there is plenty of time. After I break the yin-yang fire snake formation, I will go and retrieve the treasures in the burial ground. Using the same method, Yi Xing sealed the yin-yang fire snake formation. Then he collected the storage rings of the Azure Dragon Empire martial artists. These martial artists were either mid-level Astral Realm Venerables or high-level Astral Realm Venerables. The storage rings in their hands were all mid-level. The collection inside was definitely not low. Not to mention the treasures in the burial ground, just the storage rings that Yi Xing obtained from the Azure Dragon Empire martial artists were a huge harvest. After doing all this, Yi Xing and the Qingyu Empire martial artists entered the main hall in the center of the burial ground. Like Tianfun's burial ground, a large number of formations were set up outside. However, inside the house, there was only a coffin and the treasures that the Red Flame Venerable had placed when he was alive. Like Tianfun, after more than 100 years, the Red Flame Venerable had yet to become a corpse Dao martial artist. His corpse was still in the coffin. All the treasures in the house were still there. Upper-grade storage rings. So many mid-level star crystals. So many supreme-grade spiritual weapons. Corpse jades. My corpse jades. After entering the hall, the Qingyu Empire martial artists exclaimed one after another. Although the Red Flame Venerable was only a half-step venerable when he was alive, he was too rich. He was not inferior to an ordinary Astral Realm Venerable. There were a total of 2 upper-grade storage rings. The mid-level star crystals were piled up like a mountain. They occupied a large space in the hall. There were at least millions of them. There were more than a dozen supreme-grade spiritual weapons, especially the corpse jades. They ranged from 1st grade spiritual grade to 12th grade spiritual grade. There were all kinds of them. There were at least thousands of them in a full box. The Red Flame Venerable was clearly well prepared. As long as he became a corpse Dao martial artist, the corpse jades he left behind would be enough to raise his cultivation to the 9th level of the astral realm. There were so many treasures that were not inferior to those left behind by a venerable. When the martial artists saw these treasures, they were all surprised and shocked. This was far beyond their expectations. However, when they saw the words left behind by the Red Flame Venerable on the wall, they realized that this burial ground was left behind by the Red Flame Venerable. They all felt relieved. Although the Red Flame Venerable was only a half-step venerable, he was indeed comparable to a true venerable. This was the burial ground of the Red Flame Venerable, and Yi Xing had the Red Flame suit that the Red Flame Venerable had once used. The Qingyu Empire martial artists looked at Yi Xing with astonishment in their eyes. In order to remember his son after becoming a corpse Dao martial artist, the Red Flame Venerable had of course explained everything about Tianfun in the words carved on the wall. After reading the words carved on the wall, the Qingyu Empire martial artists understood that Yi Xing's Red Flame suit came from the burial ground of Tianfun. Chapter 459, that the treasures in the Red Flame Venerable's burial ground were originally divided into 3 portions. Yi Xing, the Qingyu Empire and the Blue Dragon Empire each had 1 portion. Now that the Blue Dragon Empire's team had been annihilated by Yi Xing, their portion of the gains naturally belonged to Yi Xing. Therefore, the treasures in the burial ground were divided into 2/3 for Yi Xing and 1/3 for the Qingyu Empire. In this way, the treasures obtained by Yi Xing alone would be twice as much as the treasures obtained by the dozens of Qingyu Empire practitioners. In this regard, many warriors of the Qingyu Empire were very upset. Yi Xing's gains alone were too great, but they could only suppress this unpleasant feeling in their hearts. They had all seen with their own eyes how terrifying Yi Xing was. There were 2 upper-grade storage rings, one for Yi Xing and one for Yu Chengqian. However, in the space of the 2 rings there were items. Not only were there more than 10 middle-grade storage rings, there were also large amounts of formation materials, martial arts manuals, cultivation technique inheritances, elixirs, spirit weapons, treasures, formation plates, etc. The 2 took out the items and divided them according to the ratio of 1 to 2. Yi Xing received 2/3. In addition, there were 13 supreme-grade spirit weapons, and Yi Xing received 8. There were more than 1,000 corpse jades. Among them, there were 2 12th-grade spirit-level corpse jades, 3 11th-grade spirit-level corpse jades, and 5 10th-grade spirit-level corpse jades. Yi Xing received 1, 2, and 3 pieces respectively. There were relatively fewer supreme-grade spirit-level corpse jades, and more upper-grade spirit-level corpse jades. There were 6 9th-grade spirit-level corpse jades, 10 8th-grade spirit-level corpse jades, and 27th-grade spirit-level corpse jades. Yi Xing received 4, 6, and 13 pieces respectively. As for the lower and middle-grade spirit-level corpse jades, they accounted for 99% of the total, about 1,000 pieces. Yi Xing received more than 600 pieces. Whether it was for personal cultivation or for the disciples of Thea, a long period of time was enough. Yi Xing put away all the corpse jades and was filled with joy. "Young Master Yu, it's a pleasure to work with you. I'll take my leave first." After Yi Xing obtained his share of the harvest, he bid farewell to Yu Qinggan. "Brother, please be careful. I wish you good luck." Looking at Yi Xing's back, Yu Qinggan waved his hand and said. Yi Xing carried Long Xiao and left the Scarlet Flame Venerable's burial ground for over 50 kilometers before stopping. Yi Xing tossed Long Xiao to the ground, and a beam of starlight shot out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, the surroundings turned dark. Yi Xing used the black hole constellation. The black hole whirlpool in the sky spun rapidly, forming a terrifying devouring force that began to devour Long Xiao's destiny. In Long Xiao's mind, the destiny fire was a yellow flame with a total of 9 flames. Under the devouring of the black hole astrology, the flame of destiny in Long Xiao's mind became dimmer and dimmer. On the other hand, the flame of destiny in Yi Xing's mind became brighter and brighter. Finally, when the destiny fire in Long Xiao's mind was completely extinguished, the destiny fire in Yi Xing's mind turned into 9 burning yellow flames. Yi Xing's destiny had risen to 9-star yellow fate. Long Xiao was still unconscious. He was completely unaware that his destiny had been devoured. Yi Xing didn't take his life. After killing Yin Tianhao, he had provoked the Fire Cloud sect leader. He wasn't sure if killing Long Xiao would result in something like the Heavenly Fire Seal, which would then be found by the Azure Dragon Empire's venerables. Even though Yi Xing had many tricks up his sleeve, he still couldn't contend against an astral-reaching venerables. Although Yi Xing didn't take Long Xiao's life, he didn't plan to let him have an easy time in the future. His destiny had been devoured, but his martial path had been severed. However, he could still maintain his cultivation at the 5th level of the Astral Star Realm. Yi Xing took out an extreme-grade spirit sword and severed Long Xiao's meridians, crippling his martial arts. Without the mandate of heaven, he could no longer cultivate. The martial arts that had been crippled could never be cultivated back. From then on, Long Xiao was a cripple who could not step into the martial arts path. Such an outcome was crueler than death. With a miserable groan, Long Xiao's meridians were severed and his martial arts crippled. The intense pain woke him up from his unconscious state. Feeling his meridians severed and the lack of astral energy in his body, Long Xiao's eyes were filled with despair and shock. He screamed, "You crippled my martial arts. You actually crippled my martial arts?" Venerables had a lifespan of 300 years. The Azure Dragon Empire had a lot of descendants. If one wasn't outstanding in martial arts, even if he was a prince, his status wouldn't be high. If he was crippled, his life would be even more miserable. Long Xiao felt his meridians severed, and his martial arts crippled. The feeling in his heart was even worse than killing him. "Ninth Prince, Your Highness." At this moment, a majestic voice came from afar. The sound waves were like waves, forming horrifying ripples in the void. It could be seen how powerful the person who had spoken was. Yi Xing's expression turned serious. He could tell from the voice that the person who had come was much more terrifying than Venerable 9-Star. It must be the half-step Venerable guarding Black City. He came so fast. Yi Xing exclaimed in his heart. Yi Xing looked into the distance and looked towards the direction of the voice. Dozens of li away, a human silhouette flapped his wings and flew towards him at high speed. Ignoring Long Xiao, the azure cloud wings appeared on Yi Xing's back. He immediately soared into the sky and flew in the opposite direction of the voice. The wings of the half-step Venerable were a peak-grade flying spiritual artifact. He was so fast that he could travel 5 miles in an instant. In just 7 or 8 breaths. This half-step Venerable had already arrived beside Long Xiao. Yu Qinggang was right. Long Xiao did have something on him that the Azure Dragon Empire's cultivators could track. This half-step Venerable knew Long Xiao's location, which was why he could rush over so quickly. Otherwise, it would be like finding a needle in a haystack in the endless Heavenly Corpse mountain range. It wouldn't be so easy to catch up. The half-step Venerable immediately saw that Long Xiao's martial arts had been crippled. He was stunned and exclaimed, "Ninth Prince, who did this?" "Venerable Lu Shan." When he saw this half-step Venerable, Long Xiao's despairing eyes suddenly glowed with flames of hatred. Long Xiao pointed in the direction where Yi Xing had flown off and yelled, "Kill! Kill this bastard! Tear his body into 10,000 pieces and grind his bones to dust." The power of astral-reaching realm experts was no longer limited to the astral energy within their bodies. They could communicate with the 4 extremes of heaven and earth and use the power of heaven and earth. They could erupt with a terrifying power that was 10 times or even 100 times greater than their own. Although half-step Venerable hadn't stepped into the astral-reaching realm and become a true Venerable, they had already started to sense the power of heaven and earth and could borrow it. Others called them Venerables out of respect. Venerable Lu Shan fed Long Xiao a peak-grade healing pill and said in a deep voice, "Ninth Prince, don't worry. I'll definitely capture the culprit alive and let you deal with him personally." Whoosh. After speaking, Venerable Lu Shan flapped his wings and soared into the sky like a bolt of lightning, chasing after Yi Xing. Chapter 460. The clear sky wings were a supreme-grade flying spirit weapon, so Yi Xing could use the clear sky wings to its maximum speed. However, as a half-step Martial Highness, not only was Lu Shan the Venerable able to maximize the speed of his top-grade air transportation spiritual tool, but he was also able to increase the speed of his top-grade air transportation spiritual tool with the help of his abundant astral energy and the natural energy that he drew upon. In the hands of a half-step Venerate, the speed of a supreme-grade flying spirit weapon was much faster than when it was in Yi Xing's hands. The distance between the two of them had originally been less than 100 miles. Under the pursuit of Lu Shan Venerate, the distance between the two of them had shrunk to 20 to 30 miles in no time. Yi Xing couldn't shake off the tail behind him, so he stopped. Only by getting rid of this tail would he be able to live peacefully. The clear sky wings unfurled as Yi Xing floated in the air. Lu Shan Venerate streaked across the sky like a streak of light and stopped 5 miles in front of Yi Xing. The two of them faced each other across the sky. Yi Xing sized up Lu Shan Venerate, and Lu Shan Venerate sized up Yi Xing. Lu Shan Venerate was shocked when he saw that Yi Xing was only a third-level astral realm cultivator. He knew how powerful the team led by Long Xiao was. There was a Venerable 9-Star and a third-level array Grandmaster. Long Xiao had been in such a powerful team. How had he been captured alive by this person? Lu Shan Venerate knew very well that the other martialists of the Azure Dragon Empire had either died or lost their ability to fight if they could capture Long Xiao alive. Lu Shan Venerate didn't dare underestimate Venerate 3-star. After all, it wouldn't have been easy for him to capture Long Xiao alive in such a powerful team. Yi Xing had already expected that the person chasing him would be a half-step Venerate. Thus, he was naturally unperturbed when facing Lu Shan Venerate. He wasn't surprised or nervous at all. Lu Shan Venerate stared at Yi Xing and asked, "Who are you? Why are you making an enemy out of the Azure Dragon Empire?" Yi Xing said indifferently, "You should ask your 9th prince about this. Why did he want to take my life for no reason?" Venerable Lu Shan's eyebrows twitched. When he heard Yi Xing say this, he understood that Long Xiao must have started this matter first. It seems that Venerable 3-star had angered the 9th prince, and the 9th prince did not think much of him. In the end, this person had terrifying means to defeat the 9th prince's team, capture the 9th prince alive, and cripple his martial arts. Venerable Lu Shan thought for a moment, and guessed most of it. Venerable Lu Shan said, "Even if it was His Highness the 9th prince who acted first, you still shouldn't have killed a martial artist of my Azure Dragon Empire, nor should you have crippled the 9th prince's martial arts. The Azure Dragon Empire will not forgive your actions." Yi Xing laughed and said, "Could it be that only your 9th prince can kill me, but I can't kill him? Humph. Unfortunately, he's just your 9th prince. In my eyes he's nothing. If he didn't provoke me, I wouldn't have bothered with him. Since he provoked me, he has to bear the consequences." Venerable Lu Shan's face turned green, and he shouted, "Nonsense! What kind of status do you have and what kind of status does the 9th prince have? How can they be compared? Since you dared to make an enemy out of the Azure Dragon Empire, you have to bear the consequences." As he spoke, Venerable Lu Shan's aura surged, and a terrifying power erupted. It was as if a giant mountain was standing tall, producing a terrifying pressure that enveloped Yi Xing. Yi Xing's cultivation was only at the 3rd stage of the astral realm. This pressure was extremely heavy, as if a mountain was pressing down on him, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. The difference between him and a half-step Venerable One was too great. If he did not have any other tricks up his sleeves, he would not be a match for a half-step Venerable One, even if he could fight someone above his level just based on his cultivation base. With Yi Xing's current strength, even if he used the Black Hole Astrology and Sagittarius Astrology, he could only deal with a 6-star Venerable. He would not even be a match for a 7-star Venerable, let alone a half-step Venerable. Even a 7-star Venerable would be instantly killed by a half-step Venerable's palm. It wasn't something Yi Xing could block with his strength. Just this pressure alone was unbearable for Yi Xing. His body immediately fell, and he was about to be pressed to the ground by this invisible pressure. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, 2 flaming array flags flew out and stood on his left and right. They spun and turned into a flaming shield that surrounded him. With the protection of the flaming shield array, the pressure from Venerable Lu Shan was instantly lifted. A grade 3 array at greater mastery. He's only at the 3rd stage of the astral realm, but he's actually a grade 3 array grandmaster. Venerable Lu Shan was shocked. He had never seen a grade 3 array grandmaster at the 3rd stage of the astral realm. It seems like being a grade 3 array grandmaster is one of his trump cards, but not all of them. A grade 3 array grandmaster is definitely not capable of defeating the 9th prince's team. Venerable Lu Shan thought to himself as he pondered. In Long Xiao's team, there were 2 grade 3 array grandmasters and a 9-star Venerable. Of course, a grade 3 array grandmaster would not be able to defeat them. Therefore, Venerable Lu Shan was very confident that Yi Xing must have other trump cards. A grade 3 array grandmaster is nothing in front of me. Show me what you've got. Venerable Lu Shan shouted. He took a step forward and immediately struck out with his palm. Boom! A palm print shot out and turned into a huge mountain that fell from the sky and attacked Yi Xing. Falling mountain palm. Superb spiritual martial art. Complete mastery. In an instant, the falling mountain palm print collided with the flaming shield outside Yi Xing's body. With a loud explosion, the flaming shield collapsed layer by layer. Yi Xing's body fell from the sky. Venerable Lu Shan's attack was too terrifying. Even a grade 3 defensive array at greater mastery could not withstand it. Yi Xing was slapped down by the palm. While he was in the air, The crimson flame suit appeared outside Yixing's body. Black skull helmet, black skull gloves, black skull armor, and skeleton boots. As soon as the crimson flame suit appeared, Yixing's defense was invincible under the Venerable Lu Shan. He immediately blocked Venerable Lu Shan's palm. The azure cloud wings were still spread out behind him. Yixing's body stopped falling and continued to stand in the air. Crimson flame suit? Venerable Lu Shan was shocked and shouted, "You have the crimson flame suit." The crimson flame suit was too famous for the martial artists of the Blue Dragon Empire. As a half-step venerable, Venerable Lu Shan naturally knew about it. "Are you the descendant of Venerable Lu Shan?" Venerable Lu Shan asked in surprise. However, he did not care about this question. Without waiting for Yixing to answer, he continued to shout, "Even if you're a grade 3 array grandmaster and have the crimson flame suit, you can't defeat the 9th prince's team. What other trump cards do you have? Take them all out." As he spoke, Lu Shan's supremacy sent another palm strike towards Yixing from afar. Even though they were a few miles apart, Venerable Lu Shan's palm print arrived in an instant. The palm print was like a mountain, and its power shook the sky. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 461. Kill. Yixing shouted, and in an instant, a few more array flags were summoned. Each formation flag was 3 meters long, and they were engraved with patterns of flowers and trees. They were the formation flags of Master Beichuan's Greenwood Sword Formation. After Master Beichuan died, Yixing refined this set of formation flags, and they belong to Yixing now. Yixing controlled the Cyanwood Sword Formation. Immediately, countless Cyanwood Sword Qis shot out. They were densely packed together as they charged toward venerated Lu Shan. Yixing put away the Flame Shield Formation flag. He had the defense of the Crimson Flame suit, so the Flame Shield Formation flag was unnecessary. Boom. While activating the Greenwood Sword Formation, Yixing released his Flame Celestial form and punched the sky, hitting the falling mountain palm. The Flame Celestial form hung high in the sky, and the terrifying power of the Flame Celestial form fell, enveloping Yixing. Yixing's punch was so powerful that even Venerable 9-star couldn't block it. However, Lu Shan the Venerable wasn't Venerable 9-star. When the fists collided with the falling mountain, there was a loud explosion. Yixing's body was shot down from the sky like a meteor, crashing into the ground. Even with the defense of the Crimson Flame suit, Yixing wasn't injured, but under such a terrifying impact, he felt uncomfortable and had difficulty breathing. The attack of a half-step Venerable was indeed extraordinary. It was far from what Venerable 9-star could compare to. When Yixing was shot down from the sky, Lu Shan the Venerable also faced the attack of the Greenwood Sword Qi. Facing the dense Greenwood Sword Qi, the astral energy in Lu Shan the Venerable's body trembled, and immediately came out of his body, forming an astral shield that covered his entire body. At the same time, starlight fell from the sky, causing the astral shield to shine brightly and its defense to multiply. This wasn't the power of the celestial form, but the power of the universe's stars that Lu Shan the Venerable had activated. Although half-step Venerables could only activate a small amount of the power of the universe's stars, it was only relative to true Venerables. Once he drew upon the power of the universe's stars, his offensive power and defensive power would increase greatly. He would be on a completely different level from Venerable 9-star. Furthermore, the power of the stars in the universe could temper one's body. Once a martial artist became a half-step Venerable 1, his body would be greatly improved. In particular, when one became a Venerable 1, one's physical strength would soar by a large margin. Ding 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 ding. The dense azure wood sword Qi landed on Venerable Lu Shan's protective shield, producing a series of crisp sounds. Faced with such dense greenwood sword Qi, Venerable 9-star would either die or be injured if he faced it head-on. However, in front of Venerable Lu Shan, it could not even break through his protective Qi. From this, it could be seen how powerful it was to draw upon the power of the stars in the universe. If it's a level 3 greater success formation set up with a formation base, it'll still be somewhat dangerous to me. A formation set up with formation flags won't be able to withstand a single blow from me. Moreover, This greenwood sword formation is Lord Baichuan's formation. The strength that you've displayed now isn't enough to defeat the Ninth Prince's team. Venerable Lu Shan stood in the air and looked down at Yi Xing from above. His voice carried a suppressive force and a sense of vastness. It made others feel insignificant when they heard it. Yi Xing stood on the ground and looked up at Venerable Lu Shan in the sky. He raised his hand, and the Big Dipper bow appeared in his hand. The Big Dipper bow was a top-notch spiritual bow. When drawn into a full moon, it could shoot Venerable Nine Star to death. In addition, it contained Yi Xing's power of archery, his attainments in archery, the power of the stars, and the power of the universe. Its power would definitely reach a higher level. Even a half-step Venerable One could not underestimate it. With the Big Dipper bow in hand, Yi Xing immediately drew it. The 7 gems shone brightly and condensed into an arrow of starlight that locked onto Venerable Lu Shan in the sky. The power of the fire celestial form fell, and the power of the fire celestial form, the power of the wind celestial form, and the power of the darkness celestial form, which had reached a very high level in the imperceptible realm, were used. The power of the 4 transformations of the heart was infused into the arrow, and the arrow of starlight immediately erupted with a powerful and terrifying aura. Flame destruction arrow, burning arrow. The arrow of starlight immediately shot out. It was covered in a layer of death fire. The terrifying aura was even more powerful, containing death and destruction. Venerable Lu Shan's expression finally changed. The power contained in this arrow was enough to threaten his life. Overlapping mountain range. Venerable Lu Shan shouted, and used one of the ultimate moves of the falling mountain palm technique. He struck out with his palm, and palm prints shot out, turning into mountains that fell one after another, attacking the arrow of starlight. Venerable Lu Shan attacked quickly, but the arrow of starlight was even faster. In the blink of an eye, the arrow of starlight shot through the first mountain range, and the second mountain range fell. Before it hit the arrow of starlight had already crossed the range of the palm, and shot toward Venerable Lu Shan. Ding! The arrow of starlight shot outside of Venerable Lu Shan's protective shield, producing a crisp sound of metal clashing. It was evident how terrifying the astral defense that drew upon the power of the universe's stars was. Even so, the astral protective barrier was still damaged. The arrow of starlight shot through a finger-sized hole, and continued to shoot toward Venerable Lu Shan's throat. What a terrifying arrow! Venerable Lu Shan's heart trembled, and starlight suddenly bloomed. He used the power of the celestial phenomenon, and turned into a huge yellow planet that floated in the sky. Earth elemental star power fell, turning Venerable Lu Shan's entire body into a yellow color, as hard as a rock. Venerable Lu Shan did not block or attack the arrow of starlight that shot toward his throat. Instead, he clenched his fists and tensed up all his muscles. Ding! The arrow of starlight shot toward Venerable Lu Shan's throat, producing the sound of metal clashing once again. The arrow of starlight penetrated the astral defense, but its power was already weakened, so it could not penetrate Venerable Lu Shan's skin. It was blocked outside his throat and disappeared into thin air. Venerable Lu Shan stood in the sky, the supreme-grade flying spiritual weapon behind him flapping. A yellow planet floated in the sky, and his entire body emitted a yellow glow. His aura was extremely terrifying. This was his aura at his peak. A top-notch supreme-grade spiritual bow, terrifying power of the celestial phenomenon, and the power of the universe. No wonder you could defeat the Ninth Prince's team. The arrow you shot could easily kill Venerable 9 Star. Even a level 3 array grandmaster would not be able to block it. Venerable Lu Shan looked down at Yi Xing and said in a mighty voice, "Your trump card is indeed very powerful and terrifying. Unfortunately, I'm a half-step venerable. No matter how strong your archery is, it won't be a threat to me. I only need to fight for a quarter of an hour, and the power of your Scarlet Flame set will weaken. Then, I will be able to kill you easily and turn you into ashes." Yi Xing's cold laughter was heard from behind the skull helmet. "Is that so? Try taking another arrow of mine." As he spoke, starlight bloomed. 2 rays of starlight shot out from between Yi Xing's eyebrows at the same time. Yi Xing had used his true trump card. Chapter 462. A ray of starlight turned into a black hole vortex. A ray of starlight turned into a starlight bow and arrow. Yi Xing used the black hole constellation and Sagittarius constellation at the same time. In an instant, the surroundings were shrouded in darkness. Venerable Lu Shan was shocked. He did not expect Yi Xing to still have a trump card that he had not used yet. The sudden darkness enveloped the entire area. Although the yellow astral projection above Venerable Lu Shan was emitting starlight, and Venerable Lu Shan could still see everything within a few kilometers, the light was dim and hazy. He could not see as clearly as he normally would. Most importantly, he could no longer see Yi Xing's figure. Yi Xing had completely merged into the darkness. The legendary strongest constellation astrology. Lu Shan the Venerable looked at the sky. The huge starlight bow made his heart tremble. As for the black hole constellation, Lu Shan the Venerable had never seen or heard of it before. However, to be able to stand side by side with Sagittarius constellation while the high-grade flame constellation was pushed to the corner of the sky, it was obvious that it was a terrifying constellation on the same level as Sagittarius constellation. In the darkness, Yi Xing held the Big Dipper bow in his hand. The 7 gems shone brightly and condensed into a starlight arrow, locking onto Lu Shan the Venerable in the sky. When Yi Xing wore the red flame suit and used the Big Dipper bow and Sagittarius constellation, how powerful would the arrows be? The Sagittarius constellation did not increase the power of the arrows by a fixed number, but by a proportional increase. The initial attack power of the arrows was strong, but under the Sagittarius constellation, it would become even stronger. For example, if the initial attack power of an arrow was 100, and under the Sagittarius constellation, the attack power would be 200. Then, when the initial attack power of an arrow was 1000, the attack power under the Sagittarius constellation would not be as simple as 1100, but 2000. This was a proportional increase. Yi Xing wore the red flame suit and used the Big Dipper bow to shoot arrows. He could easily kill Venerable 9 stars and pose a threat to half-step Venerables. What about now? When the starlight arrow locked onto Lu Shan the Venerable, he felt a piercing pain in his heart, and all the hair on his body stood on end. This was no longer a simple sense of danger, but a sign of death, a strong sign of death. Venerable Lu Shan didn't have time to think. He slapped the Supreme Grade Air Transportation spiritual artifact behind him, and immediately retreated. Run. At that moment, Lu Shan the Venerable only had one thought. Just as Venerable Lu Shan retreated, the starlight arrow left the bowstring at the same time. Whoosh! In an instant, the arrow pierced through the air. In the blink of an eye, it shot out over 10 miles. Lu Shan Venerable's speed was fast enough. In the blink of an eye, he had retreated close to 5 kilometers away. In addition, he and Yi Xing were already several kilometers apart. In the blink of an eye, he and Yi Xing were separated by several kilometers. Even so, the starlight arrow caught up to him in the blink of an eye. Poof! The resplendent starlight barrier was unable to withstand a single blow from the arrow. The starlight arrow instantly pierced through a small hole, and continued shooting towards Lu Shan Supremacy's chest. Flying Cloud Leap. At the moment of life and death, the Venerable Lu Shan let out a loud cry and unleashed his astral energy to its limit. The moment the tip of the arrow touched his body suddenly leaped into the air, and flew hundreds of meters to the side. Flying Cloud Leap was a supreme-grade spirit martial art movement technique. Lu Shan the Venerable's current speed was almost instantaneous. The arrow of starlight's offensive power was terrifying. Even though Venerable Lu Shan's body was tough and had the power of the astrology to increase his defense, causing his skin to be as tough as metal, the moment the arrow of starlight touched him, his skin broke and blood flowed. Whoosh! 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 Lu Shan the Venerable knew that archery experts could change the direction of the arrow. Once he dodged the attack of the starlight arrow, he immediately changed directions in the air. In the blink of an eye, he changed directions 5 times. Under the control of Yi Xing's mind, the starlight arrow chased after Lu Shan the Venerable 4 times. In the end, Lu Shan the Venerable dodged it. However, even though he could dodge the first arrow, he could not dodge the second one. When Lu Shan the Venerable dodged the starlight arrow, Yixing flapped the azure cloud wings on his back and caught up. The distance between them shortened. At the same time, the Big Dipper bow condensed a second starlight arrow and continued to shoot at Lu Shan the Venerable. Lu Shan the Venerable dodged the first arrow and did not have the strength to block the second one. The second starlight arrow instantly pierced through his protective shield and his skin. It penetrated deep into Lu Shan the Venerable's back and pierced through his heart. Lu Shan the Venerable screamed and his body trembled. His heart was pierced through by the arrow. It was a fatal injury. However, a half-step Venerable had a strong physical body and tenacious vitality. He did not die instantly. Lu Shan the Venerable fell for a distance, and the supreme-grade flying spiritual weapon behind him flapped again. He flew forward in a crooked manner. After a few breaths, Lu Shan the Venerable finally stopped breathing and fell to the ground. Yixing also quickly landed on the ground. He hid the crimson flame set in his body and put away the Big Dipper bow. He also put away the black hole astrology, Sagittarius astrology, and flame astrology as he panted heavily. This time, Yixing had used all his trump cards and unleashed his strength to the limit to finally kill Lu Shan the Venerable. However, his cultivation was still too low. He was only at the third stage of the astral realm. Although he had many tricks up his sleeves, his body could not maintain such an intense state of exhaustion. If it was another ordinary 3-star Venerable, even if he had Yixing's everything, he would not be able to use it. It was basically impossible for him to kill a half-step Venerable. After more than 10 breaths, Yixing's breathing calmed down a little. He immediately took out 2 mid-grade star crystals and sat on the ground. He quickly absorbed the star power and recovered his astral energy. After the battle just now, the astral energy in his body was almost exhausted. After a simple recovery, Yixing went to Lu Shan the Venerable's corpse and put away his storage ring, supreme-grade flying spirit tool, and supreme-grade spirit glove. Then, he used the star fire to burn Lu Shan the Venerable's corpse to ashes. However, Yixing also cleaned up the traces of his battle with Lu Shan the Venerable. The Blue Dragon Empire was too powerful. Yixing could not contend against them, so he had to be careful. Whether it was Lu Shan the Venerable's storage ring, Long Zhao's, or any other martial artists, Yixing did not directly carry them with him. Instead, he put them all into the high-grade storage ring he had obtained from Red Flame the Venerable's burial ground. If the Blue Dragon Empire's experts had tampered with the storage ring, Yixing could have carried it with him. They would have been able to track him based on the storage ring. However, a high-grade storage ring could completely conceal the aura of these things. Moreover, Yixing still first put these storage rings into other middle-grade storage rings, then put them into high-grade storage rings, and finally put them into his own storage ring. Layer after layer, even if the Azure Dragon Empire had heavenly methods, they still wouldn't be able to detect the aura of these storage rings. Chapter 463. Requesting a recommendation vote. Yixing flew at high speed with his flying spirit tool. He did not head towards Wu City, but deeper into the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. After more than 2 hours, Yixing did not discover that he was being followed. Only then did he take off the human skin mask and put it away. Soon the sky turned dark. Yixing used the dark force, and his body was shrouded in a dark aura. He merged with the night sky and continued flying. At this time, Yixing did not go deeper into the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. Instead, he flew around the periphery of the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. In the dark night, he was shrouded in the dark aura. Even if there were experts who could track him during the day, they would not be able to find his whereabouts at night. Yixing flew through the night, traversing tens of thousands of miles in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. Before dawn, he found an underground cave and hid there. This underground cave was dug by a corpse Dao martial artist. However, there were very few corpse Dao martial artists in the periphery of the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. This underground cave was absolutely safe. Moreover, even if there were corpse Dao martial artists, there would not be many powerful corpse Dao martial artists in the periphery. Yixing could kill them. Yixing was exhausted. He had consumed a lot of his astral energy, but he did not dare to rest. Only now did he heave a sigh of relief. He took out mid-grade astral crystals to restore his astral energy. This time, Yixing spent more than 2 hours to restore his astral energy to its peak. Then he started to arrange the array. Venerable Scarlet Flame storage ring contained a large amount of array formation materials, and many of them were high level 3 array formation materials. Yixing had first set up a level 3 illusion array in Skyburn's burial ground, followed by a warning array formation, a defensive array formation, and a killing array formation. It took a total of 3 days for Yixing to finish setting up the various layers of formations. His heart was completely at ease. The Heavenly Corpse mountain range was so vast that the Blue Dragon Empire did not have enough manpower to search. Furthermore, even if someone were to search for it, it would be impossible for a venerable one to search for it personally. They could only send many martial artists to search around. If someone really did find this place, they would not be able to discover the illusory formation if their formation skills were not good enough. If his attainments in array formations were high enough, and he discovered Yixing's array formation, Yixing would be able to kill him. Yixing would only be in danger if the Azure Dragon Empire's honorable master personally came to this place, but this was basically impossible. Right now, the first thing the Blue Dragon Empire would do was to intercept the exits of the Heavenly Corpse mountain range and investigate Reverend 3 Stars. Although the Heavenly Corpse mountain range was vast and the Blue Dragon Empire couldn't cover every corner, Yixing was also afraid that he would run into the Blue Dragon Empire's people and be hunted down by a venerable. Therefore, Yixing still decided to hide for 2 months first. It was impossible for the Blue Dragon Empire to investigate indefinitely. After a long time, they would eventually give up, and even if they didn't give up, they would reduce the intensity of the investigation. Yixing took out the corpse jades and refined them one by one with the starfire. In one day, Yixing refined nearly 200 corpse jades. In less than 4 days, Yixing had refined all of the death chi in the corpse jades and turned them into corpse jades that could be directly absorbed. After 4 days of nonstop refining, especially with the help of the flame silk, Yixing's control of the starfire had increased rapidly. This allowed Yixing's understanding of the great power of fire, as well as his attainments in the Flaming Dipper Fist, Sunfire Spear Art, and other fire-attributed martial arts. All of them had increased significantly. On the 8th day of hiding, Yixing began to absorb the corpse jades to cultivate. In his hands there was 1 rank 12 spiritual level corpse jade, 2 rank 11 spiritual level corpse jades, and 3 rank 10 spiritual level corpse jades. These were the best quality corpse jades, and Yixing couldn't use them for the time being. Yixing's cultivation was at the 3rd stage of the astral realm, so the corpse jades he needed were about the same as ordinary 5 stars enlightened masters. Rank 9 spiritual level corpse jades had great cultivation effects, so it would be a waste to use better corpse jades. Yixing had 4 rank 9 spiritual level corpse jades. 2 days later, Yixing absorbed the first corpse jade and consolidated his cultivation to the peak of the 3rd stage of the astral realm. Another 2 days later, Yixing absorbed the second corpse jade. Yixing's cultivation had accumulated to the limit, and he could break through to the 4th stage of the astral realm at any time. Yixing could clearly feel the barrier to the 4th stage of the astral realm, but after a few attempts, he didn't succeed. The 3rd stage of the astral realm to the 4th stage was the leap from the initial stage to the intermediate stage of the astral realm. It was much more difficult to break through compared to other realms. Seeing this, Yixing took out another rank 9 spiritual level corpse jade and absorbed it. He had plenty of corpse jades now, so no matter how strong the 4th stage barrier was, he had to force his way through. When the 3rd 9th grade spirit grade corpse jade was absorbed by Yixing, the barrier to the 4th stage of the astral realm was broken. It was directly broken by the astral energy in Yixing's body. After breaking through to the 4th star enlightened master, Yixing stopped cultivating. He calculated the time, and found that he had been hiding here for half a month. During this time, there was no movement in the vicinity, and no one from the Blue Dragon Empire had found this place. The Heavenly Corpse mountain range was so vast that no matter how many martial artists the Blue Dragon Empire sent out, they couldn't finish searching. Therefore, it was normal for no one to find this place. Not only did Yi Xing bring a lot of rations, but he also had a lot of crystal fire beast meat and frost python meat in his interspatial ring. There was no need to worry about food. Only half a month had passed, and the Blue Dragon Empire wouldn't give up so early. Yi Xing planned to hide here for 2 months and raise his cultivation to the 5th stage of the astral realm before leaving. These days, his cultivation had increased too quickly. Yi Xing didn't rush to absorb the corpse jades and break through to the 5th stage of the astral realm. Instead, he first comprehended the martial Tao, the grand momentum of heaven and earth, and cultivated the supreme grade falling star art to a higher realm. Yi Xing calmed down and comprehended. Whether it was the grand momentum of fire, grand momentum of wind, or grand momentum of darkness, they all improved. Especially the grand momentum of fire, because he used the star fire to refine the chi of death in the corpse jades. It improved the most. Its depth was not inferior to the grand momentum of wind. The grand momentum of wind and fire had already gone very far in the tittle realm. Yi Xing even began to feel the grand completion of the grand momentum of heaven and earth. Unity of heaven and earth. As for the grand momentum of darkness, it was slightly inferior, but it was also very deep in the tittle realm. The grand momentum of darkness was much more difficult to comprehend. It required a specific location to improve greatly. After returning to the Azure Sky region, Yi Xing planned to head to the Dark Canyon again. Compared to the grand momentum of heaven and earth, Yi Xing's attainments in the Tao of archery had also improved qualitatively. He went from the 4th transformation to the 5th transformation. The 5th transformation meant that Yi Xing's mental energy had reached the 5th stage, which was almost on the same level as a half-step exalt. Not only could it increase the power of his arrows, but it could also allow Yi Xing to cultivate all kinds of martial arts with half the effort. After reaching the 3rd stage of mental energy, it was very difficult to increase one's mental energy to the 3rd stage. Yi Xing was already heaven-defying for reaching the 5th stage as a 4-star enlightened master. It was impossible for him to reach the 6th stage in a short time. Chapter 464. Begging for votes. Begging for votes. The closer to the center of the East Divine Continent, the more prosperous the martial Tao was. Most of the powerful empires were gathered in the center of the East Divine Continent. The border regions were dominated by the lower regions. Most of the strongest forces were superior 1-star sects, but there were a few 2-star forces that were at the bottom of the empires but were respected in the border regions. The Truxian region, the Watersun region, the Jiangning region, and the Dual River region were all located in the eastern border regions of the East Divine Continent. Among them were the 2 upper regions, the Azure Dragon region and the Green Feather region. The Azure Dragon Empire was the ruler of the Azure Dragon region, and one of the 2 2-star empires in the surrounding 10 regions. In the surrounding 10 regions, only the Green Feather Empire in the Green Feather region could compete with the Azure Dragon Empire. The other forces were nothing in the Azure Dragon Empire's eyes. In the surrounding 10 regions, only the Green Feather Empire dared to go against the Azure Dragon Empire. But even the Green Feather Empire was afraid of the Azure Dragon Empire. Even though they were not on friendly terms, and had always been at odds with the Azure Dragon Empire, they did not dare to kill the Azure Dragon Empire's martial artists openly. This time, the 9th prince of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Xiao, had led a team of martial artists. Among them, there were more than 10 venerables and 2 level 3 array grandmasters. However, they were all killed in the Sky Corpse mountain range. What was more serious was that the 9th prince's meridians were broken, and his martial arts were crippled. Moreover, what outsiders didn't know was that the half-step Exalt Realm expert of the Azure Dragon Empire that guarded Black City had perished because of this, and his corpse was obliterated. This was tantamount to touching the Azure Dragon Empire's reverse scale. The Emperor of the Azure Dragon Empire, Honorable Yuan Guang, was furious. He personally led 2 1-star venerables, dozens of venerables, and close to 1,000 perfected persons to the Sky Corpse mountain range to capture the murderer. However, Honorable Yuan Guang and his people did not catch the murderer. It was as if the murderer had evaporated into thin air and disappeared without a trace. According to the witnesses, The murderer's name was unknown. He was a young man with a sallow face, a level 3 astral realm cultivation, and a level 3 array grandmaster. He had a red flame set, a supreme grade flying spiritual weapon, and a supreme grade spiritual bow with 7 gems. The experts of the Blue Dragon Empire used this as a clue to search the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. They even sent teams to guard the main entrances and exits of the mountain range, but they still couldn't find the whereabouts of the yellow-faced young man. His face was sallow, like a sickly invalid. With such obvious characteristics, it should be easy to find him, but there was no news at all. Moreover, the tracking experts of the Azure Dragon Empire had been tracking the murderer's aura the entire time. After tracking for a period of time, they had completely lost the trail. No matter how powerful the tracking experts were, they still couldn't find any traces of the murderer. Since the murderer dared to kill, it was obvious that he had something to rely on, and wasn't afraid of being tracked down by the experts of the Blue Dragon Empire. The Blue Dragon Empire's martial artists deduced that the murderer's face was most likely a fake. The real person's chi and blood were abundant. In 1,000 people, it was rare for one to appear sickly. A sickly person with a sallow complexion, although the characteristics were obvious, if it was a fake face, no matter how they investigated, they would not be able to find out. One's appearance could be faked, but one's cultivation during battle could not be faked. One's attainments and formations could not be faked either. Therefore, the Blue Dragon Empire expanded the scope of their investigation. All the 3-star venerables in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range were listed as targets. Because of this, most of the witnesses of this incident were found by the Blue Dragon Empire. Even the Blue Feather Empire's team was no exception. Among the Blue Feather Empire's team, only Yu Chang'an knew Yi Xing's identity. Of course, he wouldn't reveal it. The Blue Dragon Empire's experts simply didn't ask anything. The Blue Feather Empire's crown prince being controlled by the Blue Dragon Empire's experts was also a big matter for the Blue Feather Empire. The Blue Feather Empire's venerable Chen Yu personally rushed to the Heavenly Corpse mountain range and took away the Blue Feather Empire's martial artists. The only useful information the Blue Dragon Empire obtained was that the murderer had obtained a large amount of treasures and corpse jades in the Red Flame Venerable's burial ground. Thinking that the murderer might take the risk to absorb the corpse jades and break through, the Blue Dragon Empire expanded the scope of their investigation. Not only the 3-star venerables, but the 4-star venerables were also listed as targets. For a time, the people in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range were in a state of panic, especially the 3-star and 4-star venerables. Many of them were treated as suspects and arrested by the Blue Dragon Empire's experts. Although many were released, there were also those who died unjustly. After a month of investigation, the murderer was still nowhere to be found. There was no news at all. If there was any news of the murderer, the Blue Dragon Empire would definitely pursue it. However, there was no news at all. The Blue Dragon Empire naturally couldn't waste a large number of their experts in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range, so they could only give up. Venerable Yuan Guang led the majority of the experts back to the Blue Dragon Empire's capital, leaving behind a small number of people to continue the search in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. Yi Xing's top-grade spirit-grade falling star art had broken through to the 4th stage. He had already been hiding in the underground cave for a month and a half. So much time has passed, the Blue Dragon Empire should have already given up. Even if they continue to investigate, there won't be too many people. Counting the days, it's already October. The Yin Qi in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range is gradually increasing. I'm afraid it won't be long before the Heavenly Corpse mountain range will be sealed and become a forbidden area. The array, the Scarlet Flame set, and the Big Dipper bow will all expose my identity. If I encounter any danger in the future, I'll have to rely on my own strength to deal with it. I have to seize the time to break through to the 5th stage of the astral realm, and then leave the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. Yi Xing thought to himself. He was now a 4-star enlightened master, but his astral energy wasn't inferior to a 6-star enlightened master. The corpse jade he needed for cultivation was the same as a 6-star enlightened master's corpse jade. Yi Xing had a total of 3 10th grade spiritual corpse jades. For an ordinary 6-star enlightened master, 2 10th grade spiritual corpse jades would be enough for a breakthrough. However, Yixing needed more, so 3 pieces would be enough. Yixing circulated the top grade spirit grade falling star art and activated the black hole stellar vortex, absorbing the star energy in the corpse jades at a rapid speed. In 2 days, Yixing would absorb 1 piece, and his cultivation would increase by 1,000 miles every day. 6 days later, Yixing finished absorbing the 3 10th grade spiritual corpse jades. His cultivation in the 4th stage of the astral realm had reached its limit. The astral energy in his body was vigorous and surging. Yixing controlled the astral energy and madly attacked the barrier of the 5th stage of the astral realm. The breakthrough from the 4th stage of the astral realm to the 5th stage wasn't as difficult as the breakthrough from the 3rd stage to the 4th stage. Yixing had accumulated enough astral energy in his body, so it didn't take long for him to break through the barrier of the 5th stage of the astral realm. The astral energy in Yixing's body had a qualitative improvement again, and the connection between his meridians and stellar vortex was smoother. Yixing successfully broke through to the 5th stage of the enlightened master. At the end of last year, he broke through to the astral realm at the Young Hero Assembly and became a 1-star enlightened master. At that time, his goal was to break through to the 4th stage of the enlightened master in a year. Now that he was a 5-star enlightened master, he exceeded his goal. Chapter 465. There are still 3 more updates tonight. Begging for monthly votes and recommendation votes. From the 3rd stage of the astral star realm to the 4th stage, and from the 4th stage to the 5th stage, my cultivation was forcefully broken through using corpse jades. I haven't had the time to familiarize myself with these 2 realms, so my foundation isn't stable. If I want to build the pagoda higher, every brick has to be sturdy. I can't leave behind any hidden dangers. My cultivation rose too quickly previously, so I have to stay at the 5th stage of the astral star realm for a while to consolidate my foundation. The best way to consolidate one's foundation is to fight. Only by experiencing a life or death battle can a martial artist accurately understand themselves and solidify their foundation as quickly as possible. The East Divine Continent's Junior Genius Tournament will be filled with experts. This will be my stage. The other junior geniuses can be used to practice and consolidate my foundation. After Yixing broke through to the 5th stage of the Tao Master, he made a decision. In another 2 months, it would be the end of the year, and the East Divine Continent's Junior Genius competition would be held. After Yixing left, it wouldn't be long before he set off to participate in the competition among the junior geniuses of the entire East Divine Continent's 108 domains. Yixing removed the array and discovered that the Enchi in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range was extremely dense. It was even more dense than the Enchi in the depths of the Heavenly Corpse mountain range during the spring and autumn seasons. At this moment, the Heavenly Corpse mountain range was the world of Corpse Tao warriors. Most of the other warriors had already left the Azure Cloud mountain range. When Yixing entered the cave, he didn't encounter any Corpse Tao warriors. However, when he left, he encountered one. The Corpse Tao warrior was at the 4th stage of the astral star realm, but he was easily killed by Yixing. After leaving the underground cave, a pair of flaming wings appeared behind Yixing. It was the Fire Cloud Sect Master's high-grade flying spiritual artifact. Although the Heavenly Corpse mountain range was filled with Enchi, causing warriors to retreat, it wasn't the time when the Enchi was at its densest. Yixing was worried that there would be experts from the Azure Dragon Empire searching the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. Naturally, he couldn't use the Azure Cloud wings or the Black Feather wings. Thankfully, Yixing's worries were unnecessary. He didn't encounter any Azure Dragon Empire warriors until he left the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. After entering the True Xian domain, Yixing went straight to the Boundless mountain range, the territory of the demonic beasts in the northern part of the True Xian domain. The Boundless mountain range was the largest mountain range in the True Xian domain. It was much larger than the Green Cloud mountain range. The demonic beasts in the Boundless mountain range were much more powerful. There were even Class 3 high-tier demonic beasts. Yi Xing found a peak mid-rank 3 demonic bird in the boundless mountain range, lightning golden feather eagle. With Yi Xing's eyes of green cloud, controlling a mid-rank 3 demonic bird was not a problem. After a mental battle, the lightning golden feathered eagle became Yi Xing's mount. The wings of flame belonged to the fire cloud sect master. Even in the true mystic region, Yi Xing did not dare to use it openly. It was best to use the fey bird as a means of transportation. Furthermore, Yi Xing would have an easier time with the demon bird as a means of transportation. He could use the time to cultivate. Ever since he learned the eyes of green cloud, the greatest benefit was that as long as there were demonic beasts, he wouldn't have to worry about not having a mount. This was especially useful when traveling long distances. The lightning golden feathered eagle was one of the fastest rank 3 demonic birds. It was faster than many high rank 3 demonic birds. It wasn't any slower than Yi Xing flying at full speed with a supreme grade flying spirit tool. In just a few days, Yi Xing returned from the northern part of the Truxian domain to the Falling Star sect in the Azure Cloud region. With Wu Yu presiding over everything was as usual. When Yi Xing returned, he met with his master, Hua Tianfeng, Elder Gu Tianshang, junior sister Lin Tongyu and Wu Yu. Yi Xing left with Yang Gang in the 4th month and headed to the Heavenly Corpse mountain range. It was now October, and they had only returned after half a year. These people had been worried about Yi Xing's safety. Seeing Yi Xing return safely, they were all delighted. Falling Star Palace, Sect Master's residence. Wu Yu sat in front of Yi Xing and said, "Yi Xing, how could you stay in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range alone for such a long time? It was too risky. I heard that something big happened in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range, but there was no news of you. As your guardian, I was worried sick." Yi Xing smiled and said, "It was safer for me to be alone. I stayed in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range for a long time, but I also gained a lot." While speaking, Yi Xing circulated his astral energy and released his cultivation. Wu Yu was shocked. He stood up and said in shock, "A rank 5 enlightened master, you have reached the 5th level of the astral realm?" At the end of last year he had broken through the astral realm and became a 1-star enlightened master. This year, Yi Xing had become a rank 5 enlightened master in less than 10 months. Wu Yu couldn't believe it. What kind of cultivation speed was this? Yi Xing stood up and asked Wu Yu to sit down. He said, "I got some good fortune in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range, so my cultivation improved a little faster than expected." Wu Yu was stunned. He thought, "It's not just a little faster, it's godly speed, okay?" Wu Yu sighed. "No wonder the venerable master values you so much. You are indeed not someone the other geniuses of the younger generation can compare to. Last year, Mu Xiaohua was still able to compete with you, but now he is far from you." Yi Xing smiled faintly. He didn't know if Mu Xiaohua had broken through to the 3rd level of the astral realm. Compared to him, they were not on the same level. Yi Xing said, "My goal is to be the champion of the East Divine Continent's Young Geniuses competition. Only the young geniuses of the 3 high-rank empires are my opponents." Wu Yu's eyes were filled with excitement as he said, "Even the Qingyu Empire and the Blue Dragon Empire are not ranked in the East Divine Continent. They are at the bottom of the 2-star forces. If you take first place in the large competition, you will really bring honor to the true Xian region. You will definitely be able to shake the East Divine Continent in one fell swoop." After a pause, Wu Yu continued, "In the East Divine Continent, your background is much worse than the other young geniuses. If you take first place, it will be even more shocking. Your name will definitely spread throughout the world. Not just the East Divine Continent, I'm afraid the other 4 continents of the Star Continent will spread your deeds. Although the number 1 in the East Divine Continent can't be compared to the monstrous geniuses of the Middle Sky Continent, you can still be called a heaven's pride." No wonder Wu Yu was so excited. Compared to the East Divine Continent, the True Xian region was a small place. Even the number 1 in the True Xian region, Master Yanggu, who was first on the Earth Profound ranking, was just a nobody in the East Divine Continent. No one in the True Xian region could be famous in the East Divine Continent. If Yi Xing took first place in the East Divine Continent's Young Geniuses competition, not only would his name spread throughout the East Divine Continent, but it would also spread throughout the world. If the entire star continent were to spread someone's deeds, what kind of glory would that be? Most of the cultivators in the world pursued fame and fortune. Wu Yu was no exception. Even if the famous person was Yi Xing, as Yi Xing's Tao protector, he was also excited. Spread throughout the world? Yi Xing silently muttered in his heart. His goal was to reach the peak of the martial Tao in the star continent. Right now he was still very far away from this goal. However, he would soon reach the stage of the star continent. Chapter 466. From Wu Yu, Yi Xing found out that the True Xian region's team participating in the East Divine Continent's Genius Tournament was led by Tiangang Sect's Grand Supreme Elder, Yang Gu. The other 8 high sects would each send an exalted elder, because the top 10 in the True Xian region were all disciples of the 9 high sections. Although the younger generation of the True Xian region wasn't outstanding in the entire East Divine Continent, and they might be eliminated in the first round, the 9 sect alliances placed great importance on this competition. The further one's heart was, the further one could go. The elders of the 9 high sects didn't expect the younger generation to get a good ranking in the East Divine Continent Junior Genius competition. They just wanted them to see the geniuses of this era and broaden their horizons. They wanted them to know that their achievements were nothing in the eyes of the True Xian region. Only by making them feel pressured would they have the motivation to move forward. The East Divine Continent Junior Genius competition would be held at the end of the year. The team from the True Xian domain would set off a month in advance. They would depart on the 1st of December and head for the Qingyu Empire. They would borrow the teleportation array in the Qingyu Empire and be transported to the border of the Qingyu Empire. After which, they would continue their journey to another empire, the Sky Wolf Empire. The Sky Wolf Empire was a middle-rank empire and possessed an even stronger teleportation array. It was now the end of the 10th lunar month, and there was still a little more than a month to the first day of the 12th lunar month. Yi Xing could still stay in the Falling Star sect for about a month. In this month, Yi Xing had many things to do. First, cultivate the Flaming Dipper Fist and the Sun Flaming Spear art. Second, head to the Dark Canyon to comprehend the force of darkness. Third, settle the grudge with the Sun Moon sect. The second day after Yi Xing arrived at Thie, he sent a messenger to the Sun Moon sect. The Sun Moon sect had 10 days to disband, and the grudge between the Sun Moon sect and the Falling Star sect would be written off. Otherwise, on the 10th day of the 11th lunar month, I will personally visit the Sun Moon sect and take the head of the Sun Moon sect's sect master In Wu Dao. Sun Moon sect. After receiving Yi Xing's message, the Sun Moon sect's sect master In Wu Dao flew into a rage. Our Sun Moon sect has existed for more than 1,000 years, and we're growing stronger day by day. This little bastard wants our Sun Moon sect to disband with just a few words? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. In Wu Dao clenched his fists and roared. He was very agitated. If he had known that Yi Xing's potential was so terrifying, In Wu Dao would never have supported the Dongfu sect's plan to exterminate, then or would he have accepted the Falling Star sect's disciples from the Dongfu sect, nor would he have sold the Falling Star sect's disciples as slaves to the Nine Heaven City. However, it was impossible to turn back time. Now the Sun Moon sect and the Fallen Star sect were already on opposite sides. The hatred between them was deep. When In Wu Dao thought about the speed at which Yi Xing had risen, he felt a chill run down his spine. He still did not know that Yi Xing was already a 5-star sage. If he knew that Yi Xing had broken through 5 realms consecutively within a year, from a 9-star martial sage to a 5-star sage, In Wu Dao would definitely have calmly considered Yi Xing's suggestion. The reason why In Wu Dao was so agitated was that he did not place enough importance on Yi Xing. He felt that Yi Xing's actions were a humiliation to the Sun Moon sect. Our Sun Moon sect cannot be compared to the Dongfu sect. He just broke through to the star realm at the end of last year, and now he dares to threaten the Sun Moon sect to take my life. How arrogant! How reckless! In Wu Dao slammed the table in front of him, smashing it into pieces. It was still not enough to vent his anger. Report. Sect Master. The Grand Elder has returned to the sect. While In Wu Dao was raging, A half-step sage ran in from outside and knelt down to report. The Grand Elder of the Sun Moon sect, In Hongdan, was the only 6-star sage in the Sun Moon sect. After passing the position of sect master to In Wudao, she often traveled outside and rarely stayed in the sect. It had been 5 years since he returned from his recent trip. Without In Hongdan, the Sun Moon sect did not encounter any difficulties. In Wudao naturally managed the sect well. However, ever since he became enemies with Yi Xing and Yi Xing's rise in the young hero competition, In Wudao was restless. He did not know what to do about the future. The Falling Star sect had Master Wu Yu of the Tiangang sect. In Wudao didn't dare to act rashly. Furthermore, it wasn't as if the Sun Moon sect hadn't taken any measures against Yi Xing. The Great Elder, Yang Ba, had tried to assassinate Yi Xing, but in the end, Yang Ba had died and Yi Xing was safe and sound. He could not get rid of Yi Xing. If he did not get rid of Yi Xing, he would be closer to death with every passing day. In Wudao's days were like years. Now that he heard that the Grand Elder had returned, In Wudao was overjoyed. He said, "Gather all the elders and welcome the Grand Elder." In the past, In Wudao could not wait for In Hongdan to wander outside for a longer time. Without anyone above him, he could manage the Sun Moon sect as he wished. But now In Wudao was at a loss. When he heard that the Grand Elder had returned, it was as if he had found his backbone. Soon all the elders of the Sun Moon sect gathered. In Wudao brought the elders to the Sun Moon sect's mountain gate to wait for In Hongdan's return. Not long after, a mid-rank 3 demonic bird appeared in the sky and flew towards the Sun Moon sect. Behind the demonic bird stood 2 martial artists. One of them had white hair, and looked to be an old man in his 60s. The other was dressed in black and had black hair. He was tall and had a scar on his face. He looked to be in his 40s and exuded a murderous aura. Including In Wudao, all the elders of the Sun Moon sect were surprised. The Grand Elder did not return alone. Who was the middle-aged man in black beside him? "Welcome back to the sect, Grand Elder." When the demonic bird arrived above the mountain gate, In Wudao and the rest shouted in unison. On the back of the demonic bird, the middle-aged man in black said, "Brother Hongdan, your sect is really respectful to a Grand Elder like you." In Hongdan smiled, but he was surprised. In the past, In Wudao would appear to welcome him when he returned, but it had never been so grand. It seemed that the Sun Moon sect was in trouble. Sure enough, when the demonic bird landed, In Wudao anxiously said, "Grand Elder, you have returned. If you did not return, the Sun Moon sect would be gone." In Hongdan was shocked and said, "The Sun Moon sect is gone? What happened?" In Wudao immediately told him about the grudge between the Sun Moon sect and the Falling Star sect. He then told him about Yi Xing's warning. In Hongdan might be old, but he was not a peaceful person. Otherwise, he would not have wandered outside so often. After listening to In Wudao, In Hongdan raised his eyebrows and said, "What a young lad. I left for 5 years, and there is actually such a person in the Green Cloud region. However, if he dares to stand on top of my Sun Moon sect, he is simply courting death." After saying that, In Hongdan introduced the middle-aged man in black to In Wudao and the rest. "This is a good friend I made when I was traveling in the Blue Dragon Empire. He is an expert of the Blue Dragon Empire's Imperial Dragon Clan, Spiritual Master Long Hong. Although Spiritual Master Long Hong is a 6-star spiritual master, his battle strength is heaven-defying and can be compared to venerable 7 stars. 10 days later, if that lad dares to come to the Sun Moon sect, I will definitely make him bleed." Chapter 467. The eyes of In Wudao and all the elders of the Sun Moon sect lit up. Azure Dragon Empire's Imperial Dragon Clan. What kind of noble status was that? Everyone's eyes were filled with respect. Long Hong was at the 6th level of the astral realm. He didn't have a high status in the Azure Dragon Empire, as he belonged to a branch of the Imperial Dragon Clan. However, even if he didn't have a high status in the Azure Dragon Empire, the Imperial Dragon Clan's status was still higher than the elders of the Sun Moon sect. Especially Long Hong's strength, which was far superior to his peers. He could even fight against the venerable 7 stars. Cultivators respected the strong, and the elders of the Sun Moon sect admired Long Hong even more. A sliver of arrogance appeared on Long Hong's face. He nodded at the martial artists of the Sun Moon sect and said, "He's just a junior disciple of an inferior one-star sect. Even if he's a genius, how much of a genius can he be? Is there a need to wait for him to kill his way here?" Yin Wudao said, "Spiritual Master Long Hong, you don't know that Yi Xing has the backing of the Heavenly Dipper sect. The Heavenly Dipper sect is one of the strongest forces in the region. Our sect can't afford to offend them. Furthermore, the Heavenly Dipper sect has an 8 stars venerable guarding the Falling Star sect. Our sect can't do anything to Yi Xing and the Falling Star sect." Seeing that the Falling Star sect had an 8 stars venerable guarding it, Long Hong didn't mention killing Yi Xing directly. He changed the topic and said, "Then let's wait for him to come to the Sun Moon sect. The 8 stars venerable won't come with him, right?" Yin Wudao thought for a while and said, "Venerable Wu Yu probably won't interfere with the battle between Yi Xing and our sect. However, we can't rule out the possibility that he will save Yi Xing if he sees that he's in danger. The Heavenly Dipper sect is one of the strongest forces in the region. If Venerable Wu Yu wants us to let him go, we won't dare to disobey." Long Hong chuckled and said, "You guys are afraid of the Heavenly Dipper sect, but I'm not. Brother Hong Dan and I are friends. Leave the Sun Moon sect's problems to me. If that kid dares to come, I'll kill him. No one can stop me." Yi Xing practiced Flaming Dipper Fist and Sunfire Spear art every day. His attainments in the Grand Force of Fire were extremely high. Moreover, his mental power had reached the 5th layer. Cultivating these 2 types of martial arts allowed his attainments to rise very quickly, advancing at a tremendous pace. In less than 10 days, Yi Xing's Flaming Dipper Fist and Sunfire Spear art had both reached perfection. As for whether he could break through to the transcendent state, he would need more practice or insight. On this day, Yi Xing knocked on Hua Tianfeng's door. "Master, Yi Xing, come in and talk." Hua Tianfeng opened the door and led Yi Xing into the room. Sitting down, Yi Xing raised his hand and took out 3 7th-grade spirit-grade corpse jades, handing them over to Hua Tianfeng. Yi Liang said, "Master, these are corpse jades from the Sky Corpse Mountain Range. They contain the purest star energy. Perhaps they can help you break through to the astral realm." On the road of martial arts, the star-tempering realm was the foundation, the star vortex realm was the beginning, and the astral realm was the true beginning. Only by reaching the astral realm would a martial artist's lifespan increase. It was hard for a martial saint to live 100 years, but Taoist had a lifespan of 200 years. Every great realm of martial arts would increase a martial artist's lifespan. Astral Reaching Realm Venerable had a lifespan of 300 years. Astral Ocean Realm King had a lifespan of 1,000 years. In the Star Continent, only by becoming a king could one be considered to have stepped onto the peak of martial arts. One could live for 1,000 years without dying. Compared to the Venerable's 300 years, it was a huge leap. Therefore, if one didn't become a king in the Star Continent, one would only be a supporting role. A king's life would be filled with countless supporting roles, generation after generation. For the majority of martial artists, king was too far away, and venerable was too vague. They were both goals that couldn't be begged for. Only astral realm Taoists could prolong one's lifespan, but it wasn't that difficult. This was the goal of the majority of martial artists. Taoists could live for 200 years after becoming a Taoist, which was the lifespan of 2 lifetimes. Who would want to live for 2 lifetimes? At first, Hua Tianfeng didn't know about corpse jades. However, when Yi Xing and Yang Gang went to the Sky Corpse Mountain Range, Master Wu Yu had explained to him the effects of the corpse jades. Therefore, Hua Tianfeng understood. Hua Tianfeng held the corpse jades, his mood surging. He used to be a cripple, but now his legs had been healed. Moreover, he had the hope of breaking through to the astral realm. This kind of life change was indeed lamentable. And the reason for all this was because he had accepted Yi Xing as his disciple 2 years ago. A single decision had changed his life. Hua Tianfeng's gratitude towards Yi Xing couldn't be expressed with words. He said, "I will definitely break through to the astral realm." The only thing he could do was to not let Yi Xing down and not waste these 3 corpse jades. Yi Xing smiled and said, Master, breaking through to the astral realm is a late bloomer. It will definitely open a new golden period for you to continue on the path of martial arts. I have already refined the death chi in the corpse jades. Master can directly absorb the star energy within them. Hua Tianfeng was surprised. He knew that the death chi in the corpse jades couldn't be removed. Martial artists had to absorb the corpse jades slowly. After absorbing one piece, they had to stop for a period of time. Only after the life force in their body had assimilated the death chi could they continue to cultivate the second piece. Even a high-level astral realm Taoist couldn't refine the death chi in the corpse jades. However, the corpse jades that Yi Xing gave him had already refined the death chi. What a strange realm! Hua Tianfeng knew that this was Yi Xing's special method that couldn't be spread. Hua Tianfeng sighed and said, "A late bloomer is a late bloomer. Opening a new golden period isn't just talk. It requires great enlightenment. It's already good that I can break through to the astral realm with these corpse jades. Elder Gu did it. You have to go out and train often. In the future, Elder Gu will have to take care of the falling star sect." Yi Xing nodded. When Gu Tianshang's cultivation reached the third stage of the astral realm, he would pass the position of falling star sect master to Gu Tianshang. Yi Xing changed the topic and said, "The deadline I gave to the Sun Moon sect is up. There is no news of the Sun Moon sect disbanding. Tomorrow, I will set off to the Sun Moon sect to wash away the shame of the sect. After that, I will train in the Azure Cloud Mountain for a short period of time. When I return, Master should be an astral realm Taoist." Hua Tianfeng knew that Yi Xing was now a 5 astral Taoist. He was very powerful and could challenge those above his level. Therefore, he wasn't worried about Yi Xing's trip to the Sun Moon sect. Hua Tianfeng said, "Master will wait for your triumphant return." After leaving Hua Tianfeng's residence, Yi Xing went to Gu Tianshang and Lin Tongyu's residence. He gave Gu Tianshang 4 spirit-grade corpse jades and 2 spirit-grade corpse jades. Gu Tianshang was a late bloomer. He had opened a new golden period. With these corpse jades, it was very possible for him to become a 4 astral Taoist in the future. As for Lin Tongyu, Yi Xing gave her a spirit-grade mid-grade corpse jade. You're tuning into the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.